Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Homewrecker podcast. I am the Golden Greek, Alex Arion, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing trophy wife, the lovely Monique.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
how's it going?
I'm fucking high on life right now.
I'm with you.
Yes.
I'm totally with you.
Yes. You know it's good because I'm dropping the F bombs this early.
Yeah, you didn't waste any time.
No.
You didn't waste any time
You
at all.
love my cursing.
It's funny because I'm trying to curse less.
It's like I was thinking cursing. Why is it called cursing?
I don't know.
Cussing, profanity.
I'm sure there's a history to it that we can delve into another time.
Another episode.
Yeah.
But not this one.
No. This week we're gonna be talking to Eyes.
Eyes, he's the fucking man. Oh
Wow.
my goodness. Sorry. I'm like pumped.
What a conversation. I mean, like we're recording this intro after we've already done the interview, and wow, like
We've
just
been speaking for 4 hours.
Yeah, 4 hours.
Yeah, not all of it's
we didn't
on the
record all of
show,
it for the
no.
show. We spoke some before we started, and then we spoke for about an hour after we ended.
Mhm.
Wow, just like what a great conversation. Just what a great guy. Just awesome. Awesome.
So
And
awesome.
you guys are going to find that out.
Yes, yes.
We think that you'll pick up on the awesomeness and the vibe.
It was like talking to like one of your best friends, like you haven't talked to in a while.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
It was such a great conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was awesome.
Before we get into that, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, I know I mentioned it probably now. It's been over 2 months. I mentioned how I'd started the 75 Hard program.
Yes.
And yesterday was day 75, so I finished.
Yes, you did. You
made it all the way
rocked it like a hurricane, baby.
Yeah, it was really not hard.
You did an amazing job.
Thank you. It wasn't hard at all. I cranked it out. Yeah. So for anybody that doesn't know what it is, it's not really a fitness program. It's more of like a mindset program where you have to complete a certain amount of tasks every single day, no exceptions. You have to work out twice a day. One of the workouts, both workouts have to be 45 minutes long, and one of the workouts has to be outdoors. So it doesn't matter if it's raining, snowing, freezing cold, whatever. You got to do a workout outside.
And the workout can even be just going for a walk.
For me, it was a daily walk, yes. And then the other workout you do indoors, and you have to stick to a eating plan, a diet. So for me, I did intermittent fasting, so I would only eat between the hours of 12 and 6, or a 6-hour window. So some days, if I didn't start eating till 1 o'clock, I would give myself till 7, but I wouldn't. I stuck to the 6. I was pretty hard sticking to that 6 o'clock. You have to read 10 pages of a book every day. And it's got to be some sort of a self-help kind of book, or a business book, or something that will help you to get better. For me, I chose a couple of, I think I read like 4 books, and all of them were like mindset, philosophical type books. Yeah. So, and then you have to take a progress picture every day, just to see. It's not even so much for the transformation, because honestly, like, I didn't really notice that much of a physical transformation in myself. It's more so just so that you get that detail, and that you're paying attention to the details. That's essentially
because if you miss one thing, you have to start.
You have to start over again. Exactly. Yeah. So, and the other part was you have to drink at least a gallon of water a day, which all that stuff was pretty easy for me.
You rocked it.
Thank you. The only thing was, there was a couple of days where getting up in the morning, which is not really a problem, but it was getting up and going outside when it was freezing cold.
Yeah, or raining or
raining or whatever. Yeah. And there was a couple mornings where it was just so windy and cold, and I'm bundled up. I've got, like the ski mask on. I'm freezing.
Double ski masks.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I double ski mask one day just because it was so windy and cold. But yeah, it was not a big deal. So today, for the first time, I took a day off from any exercise and working out in
walks
over 2 months.
Yeah.
But and surprisingly enough, all day today, what have I been complaining about? How I just feel so sore and achy, and my back's bothering me, my hip, everything. How does that make any sense, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I finished that up, and for both of us, we just actually last night. It was last night, right?
No,
My days are all
no,
messed up
Thursday
now.
night.
Thursday.
You're talking about, yeah, Thursday night.
We were on the.
We were guests on our pal Conrad's
Yes, our
podcast.
new
This
buddy
guy,
Conrad.
Conrad is freaking awesome. He
Yeah.
like I listened to a show. So he has a podcast and we have we're kind of into the same how can I explain it?
I don't know how to
We
describe
question
it.
things
Yeah,
and
like a lot
we're
of the
open-minded
very
and we're
spiritual
in the
kind
same
of.
circles, if you will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And he has such a great podcast and such great guests. And the fact that he asked us to be on his show was just like so sweet and honoring. It
yeah. It
was
was
like,
cool.
wow, thank
Yeah.
you. He's a great guy. He's going to be on our show as well. I'm thinking trying to think, where are we? April, May-ish kind of thing. We're
Yeah,
gonna
we'll
work something
announce it.
out.
We'll talk about
Yeah.
it again as we get closer to
But
the date.
we
Yeah.
were on his show and I mean, we open up here, but like we opened up on there too. And, especially if you're newer listening to us, like check it out. And even if you're not, just check it out because Conrad brought up so many great thoughts and ideas and concepts. And it's like, wow, we didn't think about that or we didn't hear about that. And it was such a fun conversation. Again, it's these conversations.
Yeah.
It's so fun. And we had so much fun. It's like that's the problem with doing these shows with these great people is you don't want to stop talking
You don't
to
want.
them.
Yeah, you don't want it to end.
And that happened today too.
Oh yeah.
So
Yes.
check out Conrad's podcast. He has amazing guests. Even like, yeah, check us out, but listen to everybody else because they're
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And
We'll put all the
we'll
links
put
for
all the
everything in the show
information.
notes.
Yes, in the show notes. And that's what happened with today with Eyes. It was just did not want to stop talking to him because there was such a connection and the energy was so positive and it was such a good vibration. And I just like talking to a best friend, like that's what it felt like. And it was great. So
yeah, really, yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. So,
for our watchers, I have to say, I made a mistake. I forgot to hit the record button. And so the first, I don't know, like 7 minutes.
It was about, I think, 7 minutes.
Yeah, like
when you
aren't
noticed.
included. So I am so sorry.
You can catch those 7 minutes listening.
Yes.
If you want to
be
listen
a
to
hearer.
the audio version.
Yes.
But yeah, just a great conversation. Monique made a mistake. She made
We
a
were
boo-boo.
so involved in the conversation. I forgot to hit the button because
you know what I think it was. I'll take a little bit of the blame. We started talking before hitting the record button at all. You know what all we kind of got on the
we just
call,
rolled
and
into
we
it
just,
so fast.
Yeah, and we were talking, we were kind of shooting the breeze for about 10-15 minutes before we started recording the podcast. So I think you were just kind of in that mode, and I was
just
over
like
here.
so in the conversation. So I apologize to our watchers.
So
but
I'm hitting the record button over here for the audio. You didn't do it for the video.
I'm
I didn't
sorry.
notice to remind you, and it's kind of we'll both take the blame for that. So
my B.
apologies for anybody watching. Really sorry about that.
Sorry
But-
to Eyes.
And yes,
Yes.
yeah, especially sorry to him for
Missing
that.
that.
But we do have all the audio, so definitely check out the audio if you want to hear the first few minutes of it. Amazing conversation. We hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed having it. So without any further ado, let's get to the interview.
You hit enter and there's no typos. And then like 10 minutes later, you notice there's like a giant typo. And I swear somebody said that it feels like our CIA agents are gaslighting us. They're going into the account, just changing a few words.
That's happened to me
Could
because
very well
like
be.
and
Everybody's
the worst
saying that.
is when it's like your and I'll put YOU apostrophe RE
You double check. Yeah.
and it does YOUR and I'm like, where I know I didn't
Yep.
do that.
Yep. And it's not just you that's saying that. Like there's a few, well, not few, there's a lot of people on Twitter that are having this. I don't know if we're just our brains are moving so fast that maybe we're just missing it, but it's strange that it's happening to all of us at the same time.
Yeah. I've had that happen too, where I'll be looking on my timeline. I'm like, oh, so-and-so hasn't tweeted in a while. And I'll go and I'll look and all of a sudden I've unfollowed them. I'm like, I didn't unfollow this person. Like
Right.
I
Yeah, that
like
happened to
this
me too,
person.
actually. Yeah.
And I'll just get random people will unfollow. I'll be off Twitter for like a week or two, and then I'll go back on. All of a sudden, I've got like 30 followers. I'm like, I haven't even tweeted. How did I get people
Okay,
following
that's
me?
odd. Yeah.
It's very strange. Or the opposite will happen where people will just, I'll lose a bunch of followers. And it's like, all right, like there's no rhyme or reason. I can't figure it out. So I don't know.
No, you're
It's
right.
strange.
What's funny is if you really look at like how intelligence agencies work and stuff, and disinformation. The whole point is to create a little bit of chaos.
Of course. Yep.
And so
Mhm.
right now, when all of us are organizing, we're all realizing that everything is kind of like used to manipulate us. Maybe a little bit of chaos is not a bad idea for them. So the numbers go up and down.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally makes sense.
I want to talk a
Mostly
little.
kidding, but
Mostly kidding.
I'm kidding, not kidding, but I'm kidding.
But not really.
nobody will
wanted
ever know.
No, I wanted to bring up too, in terms of, you talked about getting on social media, creating an audience. You have a background with music and film. Can you tell us how you got into that?
Yeah. So as a kid, I was really obsessed with movies. Mostly with like I discovered making movies almost before I discovered like really becoming a fan of movies.
Really?
I just picked up a camera and I was like, how does this work? And just kind of really liked it, and then realized, oh, that's how they do that in movies. Then I started watching more and more movies, and then trying it out with my camera, and just became like basically a cinephile,
Nice.
That is so cool.
And became obsessed with movies, and started making some short films. And I had my first short at the Sundance Film Festival when I was 24. I think I was 24 at the time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but
nice.
It's beginner's luck. I was focused. I didn't see any obstacles in my head because you're a kid, and I just did it, and somehow it happened. And then I also got the false confidence of like, I'm a genius. When you're a kid, you shouldn't get that kind of success so quick, and it just kind of, and then I spent a few years trying to be like a Hollywood an indie filmmaker trying to break into Hollywood, and that was a long run. It was very exhausting. Made a few films that I'm really proud of. Met a lot of cool people, traveled a lot and things like that. But ultimately, Hollywood just kind of, in hindsight, kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like in the moment you can feel it, but you don't identify what you're feeling. You just, you suck it up, get over it. That's just, like people tell you, oh, that's just how it is,
Yeah.
But Hollywood just always had this weird vibe. Everybody's so many narcissists, and it's just normal, And where I come from, which is like a blue collar kind of like working class town, it's just, I want to punch you,
Right.
Like I once walked, this is a funny story. I once walked into an agent's office at one of the biggest talent agencies. And it's a few years ago, but I walked in and the guy was on his headphones staring out his like his skyrise kind of like window. And he's looking over LA. And I've walked in, he hasn't said, he turns around, looks me in the eye, looks past me, looks back out the window, and just says something like, yeah, just tell Shia I said it. And if I say it, Shia's going to do it. And he's talking about Shia LaBeouf. And this is around the Transformers time. And basically he's showing me what a boss he is.
He's name dropping, right. Yeah.
Yeah, but also ignoring me at the same time. And it was such a bizarre experience because I'm sitting there like, this is obvious theater. Like, what am I supposed to do right now?
Yeah.
Do you ever watch The Office?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, like where it's like, just come in and tell me there's somebody on the phone for me. Like Michael Scott did it, and Andy did it, and it's like, oh, someone's on the phone for you. Oh, nope, this person's way more important. But that's kind of what it makes me think
They're
of.
all Michael Scotts. That's what they are. But unironically, you know what I mean? Like,
that's awesome.
It's not funny.
Unfunny Michael Scotts.
Pretty much. And then you have to indulge, and being around that, you start to kind of like pick up those same energies, and you start to feel desperate for getting the next call, and how do I get into the right room and so forth. And I didn't like that at all. And so though I do think I would have kept moving down that direction because I was doing really well. Like I would have broken that barrier another year or two. Mm-hmm. But my dad got sick with cancer. And it was a while ago, so like, we're all like healed now and better, but at the time it was like devastating. I was super close with him. Mm-hmm. He was young. It was unexpected. It was like, he's healthy 1 year and then 10 months later he's gone, and it just did a number on me because I had never lost anybody, that close. Right. And that sat me down for like a year or two, like not making films, just trying to like reassess my life. At the same time, my divorce happened. Like I was married for 9 years and I had 2 kids. And I think economically and my dad and everything at that time was rough. And the pressure was just too much, you know?
Yeah.
And we split up and we're fine now. Like we're friends. We're totally cool. Our kids are cool. Everything is cool. But at the time it was like two major kind of like gut punches in a row.
That's a hell of a 1-2 punch.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I was out. Like I hate to say that because I'm a tough guy. Like this stuff doesn't, I can get over things pretty quick, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
And then kind of like reassessing if I still wanted to make films, things like that. It took me a few years to realize that maybe I'm done with movies. And that's really hard because your dream, you know?
Sure.
And then you just kind of go, because it wasn't just that, movies seemed to be heading in a strange direction. I don't even know if I was still passionate about it. Like the movies that I wanted to make don't seem to be getting made anymore.
Mhm.
Everything is Disney, Marvel, you know, like there's no like Pulp Fictions and things like that. There's no like, you know, like great cinema. It just doesn't, it's not being funded right now.
Mhm.
And then I realized, well, that's not my path. And I, you know, reassessed and had like a spiritual, mental, nervous breakdown. Ended up in the hospital with like a panic attack, anxiety attack, which I didn't know. I thought my chest was like, you know, that I was like having a heart attack or something. The nurse just laughed at me and said, "You're having just anxiety, kid."
That's so nice. A nurse laughing at you.
Yeah,
It's like,
she
you're
literally
going
did.
through something. I'm going to laugh at you.
She literally laughed at me.
Jeez.
And it sat me down and said, just do these exercises. And I did. And then I calmed down. And then I realized that, oh, like, you know, everything in my life up until this basically, you know, led me to this point. Everything I've wanted, everything I've coveted, everything that I thought I was, like all the pressures I put on myself are landed me in the hospital. This can't be good, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to reassess my entire life. And then I found music again, and I started getting into music and trying because music, like a lot of the apps were now kind of like migrating to your phone. So it was really interesting to try playing with, you know, music apps on your phone. And that just got me excited. And then I started making music over a few years and I started getting a little bit of attention. And I realized I like this way more. And also I'm way more control of this than I am of like making movies. You know, I don't need like, you know, 20 people and a budget and, you know.
Sure.
And then I figured I'll just do music for the next couple of years and then circle back around to films with music videos and stuff. So at some point I'll probably make movies again, but I don't know what movies are going to be now, you know, like with this whole Corona thing, who knows what's going to happen.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I was just thinking, you can make it whatever you want it to be too. I guess there's that possibility because we don't know what it's going to be.
That's a very good point. I've been thinking about that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because anybody can, I mean, I feel like the future is just waiting for certain people to, you know, independent artists to come out and put out things that might catch on fire because everybody now wants really authentic content, I think, you know?
Yeah.
And so so no idea what's coming, but I do know that the trick is right now is to just, you know, build the audience, build relationships and so forth. So that when I'm ready to make something, hopefully some of these people will come along and, you know, I'll have some weight, you know?
Yeah. I
Sure.
mean, we've checked out
Yeah.
some of your stuff on YouTube. And
Oh, that's cool.
and it's funny because you mentioned Pulp Fiction, because one of the ones I watched, I was like, oh, it's
That's
like
right.
that Pulp Fiction-y. Of course, I'm like,
Yeah.
watch. So I'm sorry, I forget the name of it, but the
It
kid,
was Loot.
huh?
Oh, no, go on.
It was the one with
the
the guy who's his wife, he has a wife and a kid, a baby, and he's got to go get diapers, and his friend picks him up to go do a job for
Oh,
somebody.
right. Yeah, why
Yeah,
these things
yeah.
run,
And he's like, there's a kid back here. And I'm just like watching this, and I'm just like, this is too much drama for me. Like,
Right,
oh my
right.
goodness. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
was really trying to match that energy of those old crime films, which did get
Yeah.
really intense, you know?
yes, very intense. But it was
Mhm.
good. It was like, it allowed me to get caught up in it to the point where I
Good.
started feeling anxious.
Mhm.
Like
Be-
oh my God, what's going to happen? Because like, what do you
Right.
do? Like, you can't do that. And it's like,
Mhm.
oh,
And you understand why he's there, right? Like you kind of get like
yes,
he's making bad decisions, you know?
yes. But it's like, what, oh my, and the way you did it was so good because
Oh,
like,
that's
I
so
don't want to
cool.
give anything away for anybody, but just like towards the end,
Mhm.
and then you don't know like what happened for
Right,
a
right,
moment
right.
and the
Yeah.
smoke clears. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh man, it was really good. But yeah, I definitely like, for part of it, I was getting that anxiety because I'm just thinking as a parent,
Yes.
you know, like you're a parent, you know, like
Mhm.
what would you do? What is this guy gonna do? And it's just, yeah. Okay.
And people are in those situations. People in work. I'm really glad you liked it so much. It's like making me want to make movies again.
And I'm sorry, like I am the worst movie reviewer because I'm just like, and I was like, yeah, and it
No,
was
you
like, oh
nailed
my
it.
gosh.
But that's good though. I mean, that's the mark of good art. It's emotion, right? I mean, that's
Thank
what
you.
you're trying to get. You're trying to get emotion through
I think
the visual, the music, everything takes a part and it sucks you in. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Mhm.
think.
It's
Thank
like
you.
it
That means
gives
a
you
lot
that
to me.
feeling in your gut
Yeah.
watching it. And that's one of
Well,
the things.
what I'm trying to do is tighten the screws slowly.
Yeah.
Get you to like this guy a little bit first, and then
Yeah.
and then but
Mhm.
then by the end you're kind of involved and you can't look away, and which by the way is what the mainstream media is doing right now with
Oh
movies.
yeah.
That's
But
why
the
I
thing is,
recognize
I knew
it.
this was a movie.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
allowed myself to.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a consent involved in what we're doing. Like I'm putting a movie out, you're watching it. There's no consent with what they're doing, right? Like
Right.
Exactly. I think you just nailed it because
Mhm.
there is a consent. I'm allowing myself
To
to
be
get
entertained.
involved,
You know what you're
Yeah.
getting into.
to fall into
Right.
the
Mhm.
story of it, to allow
Mhm.
myself to feel that way. Because at any moment I can just stop and say,
Yeah.
I don't like how I'm feeling if I don't like
Exactly.
something. But
And you also know that it's make believe at the end of the day. Like it's not. Whereas with anything else that happens in reality, we don't know.
well,
Yep.
exactly.
But yeah,
Exactly.
we'll get to that.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that. But yeah, it's just I think you did a really good job. And like
Thank
some of
you.
your movies are short too. And to
Mhm.
get the story and get that feeling built up in such a small amount of time is very
I don't.
impressive.
Thank you so much. I don't want it to seem like it's just something that like it's a talent or something. It's because when I first started writing, wanted to make films, it was really hard, really, really hard. I couldn't do it, And it's just like anything else. I'm sure you guys have done things with even with podcasting and so forth. That the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and I spent years studying like story structure and trying to figure out how do you make a short that's not just like a gimmick, because a lot of shorts are just gimmicks. They just like, here's a panda, he's doing something, and it's great and it might even be more entertaining. But at the end, I come at it more from like an artist kind of point of view. I want to entertain, but I also want your brain to like, like fire, like be kind of putting the story, because a lot of it's happening in your head, whether you're aware of it or not. Like you're
Right.
thinking of his family, you're thinking of,
Mhm.
and that baggage that you bring in to watching that movie. Sorry, to getting to the end of that story is what makes the story work. Because if you didn't care, it doesn't matter, And so I
Mhm.
spent so many years just studying how do you make short things work and make them potent and stuff. And I think that's why you probably responded to the shorts, because they're very like in the screenplay phase when I was writing, they're very intricately structured to get a certain reaction,
Yeah.
And I think I tortured myself over a lot of that stuff. And it's one of the reasons that I kind of don't love making movies as much anymore, because you have to be obsessive. You have to be so obsessive
Yeah.
if you want to
Yeah.
do it good,
You did a
Right.
good job. And one
Thank
of the
you.
things that you just made me think of is trying to build that storyline, get that arc, get everything, all the emotion. It actually reminds me of professional wrestling, because a lot of times
Mm.
wrestlers have X amount of minutes to tell a
Mhm.
story in a match, and not everyone
Yeah.
can do that. I mean, look at the movies out now. What is it? One of the newer Avenger movies or something coming out is going to be 4 hours. You were telling me
No
today.
way.
Oh no,
What is
it's
it?
the Zack Snyder
Oh,
Justice League movie.
Justice
Oh, the
League.
Justice League
4
cut.
Yeah.
hours
cut.
to tell a
4-hour
story.
movie. Yeah.
You can do it
It's
in
a
7
superhero
minutes.
story. Right. Which, by the way, was always our big, like me and my writing partner. I've had different writing partners, but on that particular one, just like that's what we think about a lot. It's like, commercials, really great commercials can tell a story in 30 seconds.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the only commercials that really work are the ones that tell 30-second stories really well, or 15 seconds or whatever, So if they can do it, why do these movies take, 4 hours? And some of them are great. Some of them, like I can watch the Titanic anytime from beginning to end, and it's like 3.5 hours or however long it is,
I've
But
never seen it.
you haven't? Oh,
No.
you'd like it. It's actually surprisingly like it's just a really great movie. It's well made. But my point is, not every movie needs to be that. Not every movie needs to be 3 hours. Like, why does the Zack Snyder cut have to be? I think it's obviously just like a marketing tactic.
It's
4
gotta
hours
be.
of
It's gotta be.
superheroes.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
kids go nuts for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, wrestling. You were saying wrestling. That was super interesting to me because there's a couple of screenwriters that I admire that actually dabble in that world. and that I kind of learned a lot about, like, you know, the heel,
Mhm.
and I didn't know much. I didn't understand that world before, but I realized, because I came from that point where I loved wrestling when I was a kid. Then I found out it was fake, and I was like, I'm never watching it again. Heartbroken, just like politics right now. And
Sure.
then years later, I found out about screenwriter friends and so forth who kind of explain the intricacies of how the stories work, and then
Yep.
I remembered, like, as a kid, I'm like, oh, that was all planned, and like,
Mhm.
that's so interesting how, like, they can turn somebody into a heel, and then I see it with Trump, you know,
Oh yeah.
and then I see it with Biden, and I'm like, oh, they're doing the same thing.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah, no,
Exactly.
I have a huge new respect for wrestling since I found all that stuff out.
We were just watching older wrestling yesterday, right? And
Sure.
some of the things that they did to really sell it to people, like this is real. This isn't, when people kind of were smartening
Yeah,
up,
when we
like, you know, when yes, oh, someone got hurt. Oh, I just heard Vince is getting his car. It's like things that wouldn't happen because, oh, well, they hate
yeah,
each other, so that can't be the
yeah.
storyline, that this is going to be real. When they start using like the real names of people, things like that, to
So they
get
realized we were
people.
Yeah.
catching on, and they started. That's what it feels like right now with
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it's
that's what
very
I was
interesting.
trying to tell Alex. That's what it feels like, is like they're getting, oh, these people are getting smart to us. How can we make
Yeah,
them think it's real? What can we do
yeah,
for them to say, oh no, it has to be real, because if it wasn't this, they wouldn't be doing
yeah,
this.
I wonder if that's
yeah.
why we're getting all those glitches with Biden videos and stuff like
Yeah,
that. I wonder if that's
because
why.
there's no way that can be just accidental, right? Like,
No,
uh,
of course not.
because I don't think you can go back and find stuff from like the '90s where that stuff was happening, unless that stuff is like planted now, you know. But
Right.
uh, uh, they're trying to make it seem like we're all figuring it out and we're all really smart, you know.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff that you do figure out that I don't think they mean for you to figure out. Like, there's some stuff that I think all of us collectively have figured out that, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that they meant for us to figure out. Like, you know, just the fact that everything is kind of this psyop, and everything is you know, mainstream media might even be just scripted, you know. I don't think they want us to know that, but now it's like the cat's out of the bag, and they might as well play into it to make us all look crazy. You know what I mean? And
It kind of
it's
feels that way. And
it
I
does.
think there's got to be something to that, because I mean, and it could just be living in the bubble of Twitter, because
Yes, of
you know,
course.
all the people that we follow, and you know, everybody that we communicate and interact with are all pretty much on the same wavelength. So it's
Yeah.
like our little corner of
Mhm.
Twitter, if you will, and we all kind of think we maybe are onto them and have it kind of figured out, but that's just like a small
That
microcosm
doesn't
of,
affect them. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean.
You're
So
right.
I don't know. I don't know
No,
what,
but
I
I
don't know
think, you
what's
know what I
going
think.
on.
I think there's a lot of small microcosms, though. I don't think we're the only one, because I'll sometimes see a retweet from somebody that's got, like, you know, 20,000 retweets, and they're talking about the same things we're talking about, but it's not one of our, you know,
Mhm.
it's not one of our, you know, central group of people. So there must
Right.
be a bunch of communities where this is happening, you know,
Could
and
be. Yeah.
in different ways. I'm sure it's not all like everything fake or whatever, but they're catching on to things, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
And because the idea that everything is fake seems to be trending and stuff, like they're letting on, and which is
Yeah.
weird to me. And what I can't figure out is, are they splitting people up? Is what's happening is the people that can see and the people that can't see, now, you know, we'll just be arguing forever, right? Because they're
Mhm.
never going to confirm it, so nobody's ever going to back down, and we're just going to argue. It's fake. It's not fake. It's fake. It's not fake.
Right.
They're feeding both sides. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah. Divide and conquer.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. It's
a time and true tradition.
it's like a fractal. They do it all over the place, you know, with like
Mhm.
races, with sexes. Obviously, they're going to do it within the everything fake community, and within, you
Yeah.
know, conspiracy. So that's kind of what I think is going on. That they're just putting so much misinformation out there that people can't tell what. And we also fight amongst each other, you know.
Yeah.
But I
Oh
think what
yeah.
they don't realize is that with some, once you catch on to the fakery, if you if you're able to have the mental control to just go, okay, I'm just not giving you my energy anymore. Like, it's all fake. I just don't care anymore. And so what if it's right, or Elon is fake or whatever? Yeah, I can make jokes, I can talk about it, but I don't care. And even with this, I mean, you guys following this event that's going on right now with the ship that's stuck?
I've
So
seen just some of the stuff that
Conrad
you,
told
Just
us
somebody,
yeah,
about it.
Conrad told us about it,
it,
because I didn't know. And then, yeah, then I, you know, went on Twitter. I saw
you
some of the
caught a
stuff
few
you were
tweets,
putting
yeah.
on there. Yeah.
I'm so
It's
confused by it. I
It's like,
don't
yeah,
get
it's just a
how.
ship that's
it,
stuck in a harbor, in a way that doesn't even look like it's stuck.
But
It
don't
doesn't
you
even
just-
look stuck. Yeah, like just turn left. And
Isn't
No.
it
you
just
even
going
tweeted that,
straight?
like turn left.
Yes.
Or so, it's
But
like
the problem is if you had caught me before I had realized all this stuff and I looked at that, I would have made some excuse in my head. I would have said, "Oh, I don't understand. There must be something in the water," and I would have just dismissed it and thought
Yeah.
they know I don't know, even
Right.
though it makes no sense to me, right?
Yeah.
Because I trust them.
Yeah.
And the minute you stop trusting them, then it's like then you start using your logic and nothing makes sense.
Yeah. But you just said something. Isn't it crazy how we just trust these people we don't know?
Unreal.
We just give our trust to them because
From
that's
birth,
the
you
way.
know?
well, that's because we're conditioned to. Yeah.
Yes. And,
Like
and
you
it's
just
like,
said, from birth.
yes. And
Yeah.
I don't know these people. We don't
Mhm.
have a personal relationship. We don't talk all the time. And I'm
No.
supposed to trust them with this huge bit of like all these
Mhm.
bits of information.
Yeah. No,
It's
that's what's
crazy.
and we did, and I think there's a little bit of like heartache involved when you first wake up and you realize that like, everybody lied to you, including your parents who were lied to and psyop themselves, so they don't even know that they lied to you.
Exactly.
It's like
yeah.
professional wrestling all over again. They
It
lied.
is. It really is. It's like, what the hell is going on?
What
And
if professional wrestling was trying to prepare us for this?
I literally had this thought earlier. I was thinking to
Really?
myself, what if wrestling was like an initiation? Like the first time this happens, so that you go, oh, it's like wrestling. So later when they do this, we kind of go, oh, like, they planted things in our childhood that prepared us for whatever these plans were that were coming, which they've had in mind, I think, for a long time. It seems like it was very planned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know what's predictive programming. That's the most frustrating part, is look back at your life and go, what was real?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
Right? Like
It's
my
so
daughter,
true.
my daughter would always point out when she was younger, she'd point out in school, why do we have to stand for Remembrance Day? She'd come home on Remembrance, which we call Remembrance Day. I think you guys call it Veterans Day.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So she would always come home and be like, we stood there and they talked about war and we remembered dead people. But I kept thinking, nothing's going to change. We're still going to do wars. And at the time, I just thought, oh, it's just, it's just to have respect for soldiers and this and that. But now looking back, wow, what a death cult. We literally traumatized these kids with remembering these soldiers that may or may not even have fought in these wars. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it becomes real.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wonder, because
Mhm.
your daughter said nothing's going to change. We're still going to have wars. And part of me wants to think maybe that was the thought. So we stopped doing it.
That's what she was saying. She was saying that's what it seems like they're trying to say. But the way, her point was, the way that it's done, there's this kind of like energy about it, which doesn't feel authentic at all.
Yeah.
Like the kids are scared and they're not, and they don't know what, and I realize it's exactly the same as back in the 60s, or when they had the nukes and they would make the kids get under the desks.
Mhm.
It was MK Ultra. It was,
Yep.
it made nukes real, whether they are real or not. It made in their heads this thing like, oh my God, like if like you're under this desk, you're imagining what's going to happen to your friends when it blows up, like they're putting you in that spot, and no parent would ever do that, like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, think about it.
It's so-
When it happens at school, it's traumatizing. And when you're traumatized, when you go into a form of shock trauma, you're more easily susceptible to take in and
Influence.
believe what you're being
Yeah.
told.
You're more
You-
open to
You
suggestion.
nailed
You're
it.
much more easily influenced. Oh yeah.
You guys know about like MK Ultra, mind control, like probably,
Sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
I was heavy into that. Now my kind of my perspective on it has changed to the point where I wonder if what all that, all the the mind control slaves and stuff, if what that's really kind of covering up, because the CIA is very clever, right? They put a lot of like mythic things that just get buried in our head because we love myths. But
Yeah.
but what if what it's really saying is that MK Ultra is these televisions. It's fear-based mind control, meaning anything fear-based, whether it's your parents yelling at you, they keep you in line, and that might be a good thing, but I don't trust these governments. They're not doing it for good reasons, and so I think MK Ultra is much more sophisticated than just, implanting demons into people or whatever.
Right.
I'm sure, I don't know if that's real. It was a while where I thought it was real. Now I don't know what's real, but I
Yeah.
definitely think there's something to fear-induced mind control, like you said, like when they used to go under the desk, like that's just literally, you're making them suggestible.
And that's what they're doing now. In my view, the new
Yes.
get under the desks is the masks. making kids
masks.
wear masks and all that stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
that's one of the main reasons why we pulled our kids out of school.
Oh wow, I'm
well,
so
not
proud of
yeah,
you.
not the
not-
masks.
not-
well, just
well,
because of the way the
the-
teaching system
Yeah, the
is.
way the
Everything,
teaching
everything,
But
yeah.
now it's like, I'm glad that we did it because I don't want
Mhm.
them
Yeah,
being
because
around
by the
that and
time
being
we started
susceptible to all that.
homeschooling, like they have been taken out. We were like, no.
Good.
But yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
I can't imagine if I ever had kids again. I can't imagine sending them through the school system now. It's now that I know what it is. It's just
Yeah.
wow. You know,
Yeah.
they basically trained a bunch of zombies that now do whatever they say.
And that's yeah. And that's exactly what's going on.
like
It's
there are
crazy.
absolutely great teachers out there, but
Yeah.
you have so many who are just going with whatever they're told to do and not thinking
Yeah.
about it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, isn't that the whole point of going to school, to learn how to think?
Not
But it's
anymore.
like
Turns
it's
out-
not. It's to
turns out
learn
it's
how
not.
to do things. It's to learn how to
Exactly.
be a good little soldier, raise your hand, speak when
Mhm.
spoken to.
You have to learn to be a productive member of society.
Yes.
Do as
And
you're
they try to
told. Listen.
and it's very like they try to knock creativity out of you too.
Yeah.
I don't think
Mhm.
the teachers know they're doing it. It's just how the curriculums are structured and stuff. But they're encouraged to knock creativity out of you, because then how are you gonna be like a good worker? You know, if you're
Right.
questioning things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't question anything. Raise your hand to go to the
Mhm.
bathroom, or all that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Everything. It's
How
so
normalized that stuff is.
Yeah. It's crazy.
You know what else is kind of crazy? It's like, think about it. You go to school in the morning and then you stand for the national anthem. Like I was thinking about that, like the Canadian national anthem, like it's in my head. I also feel something towards Canada because of that national damn anthem that they put in my head every morning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know if I would have these feelings towards, this mythical Canadian land with a flag and the
Sure.
national anthem. But they drill it in you so you have pride,
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, for
It's-
us here, it's you stand, and they didn't do the anthem in school for us, but we had the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, we did both.
You pledge
Very
allegiance
Yeah.
to the flag of the United States of America.
Yeah.
You know,
My mom
so
had
we
that
had
in-
that, and
My mom had
I-
that growing up in Pakistan. So
Yeah,
Very
and I
similar.
always thought of it like, I have family who are police and military, and I thought it's to show respect, for
And
your country, for
patriotism.
those, who
Yeah.
fought for the
Yeah, me too.
country.
I thought the same thing.
But then you got to think it's like you're pledging your allegiance to a flag, not anyone. The flag, like when you really
Yeah,
start critiquing
It's a
it.
corporation almost.
Yes,
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
that's
and you
what.
don't realize that's what
Yes.
you're doing.
And
Right.
you're doing this, you're pledging basically yourself. And it's just like when you really think about it, like, but who is this? What does it represent? What does it
Mhm.
stand for? And does it protect me?
Hmm.
Where's its allegiance to me? Is this like a two-way kind of thing?
Well,
And we
you're
think it is, right?
you'd like to think it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, I'm saying in the moment you think it is. When you're
Sure.
a kid, you don't understand.
Yep.
You just think, oh, like you do feel pride and you do feel with your homies and
Mhm.
we're all in this together. But you get older and then you see these 9/11, you see these things
Yeah.
happen, and you just go, maybe something else was up.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah. It just what is weird is when you question it, not trying to be aggressive, just like, wait a minute, let's take a look at this. Let's dissect this. And people get so upset to the point of they don't want to discuss it. They don't want to think about it
Mhm.
because it's like blasphemy, trying to, how dare you oppose?
Yeah,
It's like, I'm
yeah.
just asking questions. Like, help me
And
understand
they're just
this.
ideas. They're just ideas. Like I don't think. I mean, I'm sure you guys know the everything is fake gang. There's a few of us that kind of think the same thing, but none of us are. I think you could challenge any of us on our ideas, and we'd be like, maybe we're wrong.
Yeah.
About this.
Yeah.
Like none of us are like we make a lot of jokes and we laugh, and it's really just for it, the reason a lot of us make such like, kind of arrogant jokes sometimes is to give other people that think like us some ammunition. Because they can articulate the same way we can. So if there's something they can retweet and feel a little more powerful, that's good, But
Yeah.
other than that, like anybody challenge me on something, I always go, maybe it's true. Maybe Nikola Tesla was a real guy.
Yeah.
There's nothing I'm stuck on. These are just ideas,
But
Right.
that's the cool thing.
But-
It's just a chance. It's a door to open to get you to look at different possibilities, to think about different things.
But
And
people
what
get so
if?
triggered. But people get so triggered.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys have friends that are like, because I feel like last year was the great divider of just
We don't have a
people.
lot of friends.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I relate. I relate.
I'll tell you, like a lot of close friends, I haven't really spoken to a lot in the last year, and
I
it's
super relate, bro.
because, unfortunately, I think it's because they're all bought into everything that's going on, you know,
And the division.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
and I mean, I've always been my whole life. I've always questioned the government. I've always
Me
been into
too, yeah.
conspiracy theories and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So myself and a good friend of mine actually kind of called this whole thing that was going to happen. We like last year, we're like, as soon as the first lockdown happened, when it first went down, we went,
Yeah,
this is going to
yeah.
be 2 weeks. And I think we even got on a
Same here. It was
We
like
podcast and
did.
did
We
few
it.
did
days.
an
We're like,
episode.
this isn't 2 weeks. This is only going to
Mhm.
get worse. And we
Yeah.
called it. And then from there, like, yeah, everybody that I used to talk to, nobody talked to me anymore. So I kind of, I don't know if
I
it's related or not, but
I super relate because I had my two best friends in a chat. I would just drop these little hints of what's going on. It was literally 3 days into the pandemic, and I started realizing it's all bullshit.
yeah,
You know, and I started talking about Bill Gates and all this, and they were like defending Bill Gates. And these guys are smart guys. Like they're like anti-government minded and stuff, you know.
yeah,
But they're family guys now. You know, they're families now, and they have jobs, and you know they believe in that system now. Everything's, you know, and it's like, and it's fine. I don't mind that we disagree or anything like that. But I noticed when we disagreed, like the tone of their voices and everything would change. It's almost like there was a little more disrespect than usual, you know. And we're not kids anymore. Like I'm an adult. You're talking to a grown man. Like they just like. I also don't have time for that. We're not that close anymore. We're older, you know.
sure.
And I just kind of went, no, like this. I knew in my head that this next year was about to get really hard. I'm sure you sensed it too,
Oh yeah.
right? Like you called it so early, so you must have been like, oh, next year is gonna get, people aren't ready, you know.
Yeah.
And I knew that was coming, and I knew for a year we would just be butting heads now, and you know them making me feel like I'm crazy. And I'm not into being gaslit anymore, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that happened to me during 9/11. I called that too. I knew that was bullshit, you know. And for 3 years it was just dealing with normies, you
Yeah.
know. Then it started calming down after about 3 years or so.
Yeah.
But so I just wasn't willing to go through that again, and I just distanced myself from a lot of people. And I gotta tell you, I'm way happier, way more relaxed, because I suddenly realized I'm not carrying their bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
their fears about the world, who they're gonna vote for, you know, like
Yeah.
what's gonna happen to gas prices. Well, what's gonna happen is gonna happen. You know?
Right. Yep. Mhm. That's your attitude. Most of, you know,
Yeah.
Monique's a lot like that. And thankfully it's been beneficial for me because I used to get all amped up on, oh, now this is going to happen. Damn it. You know, like I knew it was going to happen. I'd let it get to me.
And I
And
just
it's
be
like,
like,
she's
it's
the,
fine.
she's the calming one, you know,
Yeah,
she'd always
you
calm.
need that female energy. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
go based off the
Yeah.
energy I'm feeling. And if I'm feeling like, wait a minute, something's really like
Mm.
something real is going to happen, I feel like it's an energy that's
Yeah,
in the
it
air
is.
and you feel it. I'm not feeling that with these things. But then I start like second guessing it because I'm like, well, Alex is
Yeah,
getting like really adamant about it. And, you know, but it's just
they
like,
get to our male like protector instincts. Like they put us in
Exactly.
they put us in that reptilian, like, you know, where we're just flight or fight, and we just want to protect our family. Like we're not thinking fully.
Exactly.
That's why you need somebody. Like I'm lucky I have my daughter. She just says, she thinks the way I do, but at the same time she doesn't buy into anything. She's a kid. She sees through it, you know.
Great.
So
Yeah.
that keeps me a little grounded. But you're right. Like we start to get like very focused on how to solve the problem, and you probably sent, because I have to constantly balance my male and female sides because I'm like single, right? So I gotta kind of have some female intuition to some degree, right? So
Right.
when this stuff happens, that's the thing. What I've noticed, I'm sure you guys probably started noticing this now too. Whenever there's some kind of fakery in the media, and they're trying to get a reaction, you'll notice that you're not feeling anything. Like it's exactly what you said. You're not feeling anything, but you feel like, oh shit, this is bad. I should be feeling something, but you're not, and it's because somewhere in your gut, you know it's bullshit.
yes. And I think it
Mhm.
was with speaking with Rambo, I had said that because I'm an empath. And
Yes.
the past like year, especially, I've felt more apathetic with the things on the news.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's weird because usually when something's really happening, I can feel it. I feel that
And you can feel pain,
energy.
and you feel other people's pain. Like in
Yeah.
school shootings, you'd be like, "Oh my god!" Like, but I never feel anything. School shootings, I'm always thinking
That's the
like,
thing.
yeah,
We were talking with Murph, and even the Kurt Cobain thing, whether it was
hmm
real or not, I just, whatever it was though, I didn't
I heard you
feel.
talking about that. That was
Yeah,
interesting.
I didn't feel, and I felt like I was supposed to, so I felt awkward and like I need to pretend
Me
to care
too.
more. And again, I'm just thinking of The Office. Ryan, when Smokey Robinson dies, oh my god, oh man, Smokey's gone. It's like, man,
my
Kurt Cobain.
my brother was really into Kurt Cobain at the time. He was young, and I couldn't get into that music at all. I was into hip hop, you know. And then what happened is, then years later, he had such an obsession. He was so hurt, and he watched all the VH1 specials and MTV specials that I got psyoped into thinking, "Wow, Kurt was amazing," and we did lose him. Yet many years later, like now, I love Kurt and stuff, but it's like, what? It's like through osmosis almost, you know. It's like I wasn't feeling it at all, you know. But I convinced myself that I need to feel more for this guy. He was a good guy, you know.
I love
Yeah.
Nirvana. I mean, I was
Me too.
listening to them all the time, but I didn't feel it inside.
Yeah, I know what
And
you're talking
I
about.
just pretended to, just so I
Mhm.
could, I guess, keep up with appearances, because like I'm seeing my friends who are calling me crying. Oh my God,
Yeah,
and I'm just like,
yeah.
okay, this is awkward.
It's kind of interesting that you say that, because you guys see through this whole COVID thing, right? And I see through this whole COVID thing. And it seems like a lot of people who weren't so easily like psyoped by pop culture, like even this Kurt Cobain death that you're talking about, the fact that you didn't feel it as much. You still got psyoped, but you didn't, there was a gut feeling, right?
Yeah.
All those people are having a much easier time right now seeing through all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the other people who were crying for Kurt Cobain are completely gone. They're like, they can't see it. Like even my brother, who's a smart guy, can't fully see it, you know?
I have to say, like, I want to give my parents a lot of credit, because was it the other week we were sitting down with them and talking about everything's fake, and they were so like, that makes sense.
It was
people
really encouraging.
I was not expecting that. I mean, just
either.
because, like, my dad's a retired police officer. He was at the World Trade Towers, the center, when a few days after the buildings collapsed, because he was a canine officer and he got called in with a dog for recovery. And he was saying the ground, like where the rubble was so hot. Days later, the dogs couldn't even walk on it. It was burning their pads, so they couldn't use the dogs. And I was just like, that's weird, but I don't know enough about it. But so to talk to my dad, like, hey, JFK may have never even existed. Like, these people may have never existed.
For that generation, it's very, the fact that you're saying they even heard you at all. That's, my mom struggles with it a lot. I have noticed though in the last couple of weeks that when I say it, she's actually listening. And it's almost like they're picking it up on the news themselves a little bit, but they don't have, I think they don't have two things. I don't know about your parents, but my mom doesn't have one. She cares a lot what people think. So she's not going to go out and like say some nonsense that people then disagree with and we're shunned out of the community or something.
Yeah.
Sure.
In her head, she's a little mind control like that. And I don't know what point I was making. I lost my train of thought there. But
the parents, just the way, like, opening their minds.
Oh yeah, and the fact that she's paying a little bit of attention and starting to realize is making me go, is everybody starting to notice this? And they're just not they don't have the confidence to speak up, or maybe they can't articulate themselves, because think about it, like I can tweet about it or you can talk about it, but you guys articulate yourself fairly well. You have no problem having a conversation with somebody, but most people can't do that. Most people, they're in their heads having a conversation, so never mind, I'll just stay quiet,
Yeah.
Like they're not going to try to figure a problem out in their head, figure out how to articulate it to somebody. They're most likely just going to be going in the moment and just blurt out something, and they know they're going to sound stupid, so they just rather not,
I sound stupid all the time, so
yeah, I don't care.
Nobody should be afraid of that.
You nailed it, but it takes a certain, like, not everybody's like that. Like all these normies, they're so brainwashed that they do care what everybody thinks,
But it's also hard, like, on social media to do that, because do you ever notice, like, talking to someone through email and trying to communicate, it's so much easier just to get on the phone and have the conversation instead of going back and forth to get to your point, because it can take 10 emails to figure out what somebody's talking about.
100%, yeah.
compared to 2 minutes on the phone. And
Yep.
so it's like the same thing with social media. Sometimes somebody's trying to get their point, but maybe they're not doing the right way, or the person on the other side isn't picking up what they're trying
Yeah,
to.
because we don't know what the tone is. We don't,
Right.
It's
Yes.
one of the reasons that when you see me tweet that I always have a lot of like emojis in my tweets. The reason I do that is because everything it's so easy to read a tweet and feel like this person is saying something to your soul. They do not like you.
Yeah,
You-
you're right.
you-
Why
No,
are
you're
they talking
absolutely
about
right.
me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything just
Uh-huh.
it feels like everybody's gaslighting you, right? But when you
Mhm.
have a little smiley face next to you, like, oh, this guy doesn't take himself too seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, it just
Yeah.
disarms you a little, and
Yeah.
I'm not there to like yell at people. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to talk, because we've been talking about families
Mhm.
too. I'm going to
Mhm.
switch gears a little
Let's
bit.
do it.
But we were talking about families, and we were talking about kids. And if you're open to it,
Mhm.
how is it with your home life? Because you're a single dad, you
Mhm.
have kids who are at the age they're old enough to kind of start getting what's going on. How
Oh, yeah.
how does that work at home with your kids? Like, what kind of
It's-
discussions do you have with them?
It's super weird because my daughter and my son were living with their mother about half an hour, 45 minutes away from here. So they come over on the weekends and we all hang out and so forth. But when this Corona thing happened, the first thing I thought of, and I don't know if you thought of this, but I was thinking, oh wow, the family pressures are suddenly going to intensify now. And anybody that has like domestic problems, abuse, that's going to go through the roof. Children are going to get abused, all that stuff. And anybody whose relationship isn't solid right now is probably not going to make it in a year. And sure enough, I look a year later and a lot of people divorced and so much stuff has happened because it's just the pressures of the economy. There's nothing you can do about it. Like it's not, people are going to think it's them, but it's not, And so that happened a little bit with, my daughter, my ex and her husband. They had a little bit of pressure, a little bit, because it's just natural. Like they're all stuck at home. They now have to deal with all these little things that maybe they didn't have to deal with before. And it caused a little bit of issue. And my daughter decided to move in with me. And so she came and moved in here. Nothing major happened. It was just, she could sense that it was a little bit much for her. And as soon as she came here, all the relationship improved. Everybody's better now because a little bit of distance is good for the,
Sure.
So she's living with me now for the first time in a very long time. Like, since she was a little kid. And my son's still living there with his stepbrother. But it's been really interesting. We suddenly have this kind of like teenager living with me she's 19. She'll turn 20 soon.
Wow.
And
okay.
she went to university for a year last year and she dropped out just as this Corona thing hit. It's almost like she sensed it coming. And I can't, we both don't quite understand. She just felt she didn't feel good. And I supported it completely because she has diabetes as well. So to me, it's more important that she figure out her diabetes than any education. I don't care.
Sure.
And so we got her out and then Corona hit and now we both feel like God's protecting us. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been bonding a lot and talking a lot and just, she grounds me a lot and she always questions, like devil's advocate, like, what if it's not fake? What if it's this? What if it's that? Which helps me kind of think about, and a lot of things I'll abandon but lately she's just, I'll send her a news article after news article and she's just laughing. Like that ship that stuck today just doesn't even look stuck.
Yeah.
On the back of the ship, I don't know if you guys noticed the way the craters are set, it says LOL.
But is that real?
Is that a
I saw
real
that and I
picture, or is
questioned
that-
if that was real, because other
don't-
pictures you don't see that from further
I never
back.
saw the back before, and I saw the back, and I don't know if that's real 100%, but the person that tweeted it seemed to say that it was real.
Hmm.
That's why I kind of trusted. Of course, that could turn out to be, but the one thing that is real is the path of the. I mean, I'm sure you guys.
Yeah.
know
Where it
the
looks
path,
like a,
and
yeah,
it's
where it looks
shaped
like a,
a-
yeah.
Yeah, you know what it looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like a dick and balls.
It looks- Exactly.
There you go.
And people just look
Thank
at that
you.
and they
I'm
go,
so
"Oh, that's
ladylike."
funny." Well, people look at that and they think, that's funny, but they think it's an accident or something.
Right.
But anytime you watch one of these stories, there's always dick and balls involved.
It's
They always
crazy.
have in the
Yeah.
back. They all, because they know nobody's thinking this. They know nobody's gonna make that connection.
Yeah.
And it makes us look crazy pointing it out.
Yeah. We look nuts. Exactly. We look nuts pointing it out. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
But at
it's-
the same
yeah.
time,
We look nuts, pun intended.
and so
Tremendous.
she's been noticing it, and there's certain things that just once you start picking it up, it's undeniable. You
Right.
just, the first time she really started laughing is when they had that I can't remember, there's a mutant strain that broke out, and the guy that they were using, as the poster boy to be like, oh, there's a new danger. His last name was Wiesen Danger.
Oh,
Come on.
It was his German name, Wiesen Danger. And some guy sent it to me. He's like, bro, look at this. They're totally trolling us. And I retweeted and my daughter's like, no, this can't be real. They're fucking with us. Like, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
troll level
Unbelievable.
1000.
Oh man.
Exactly. Wiesen
Wow.
Danger.
But wasn't that
Wow.
like with Corona, like in Wuhan, like the doctor or whoever that discovered it or something?
Oh,
He
what the
had
hell
like
was
a
his
weird
name?
name too.
He had a
I
weird
can't
name
remember
too.
it.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was,
Yeah.
but it's related. They do this all the
Yes.
time. They did it with like the first woman that went into space. Her name was Sally Ride.
Sally Ride. Yeah.
She hitched a ride into space.
Yeah. Right.
Like everything. Neil Armstrong, it's Neil A. Backwards is alien.
Alien. Yep. Mm-hmm.
They do this
Oh, yeah.
constantly. It's like they're giving us Easter eggs or something. I don't quite get it. It's hilarious, but it's also letting you
Yeah.
know it's fake, which in a way allows you to go. It's almost like maybe it's their karma. Like if we know it's fake,
That's
we
what
can
I've
check out.
heard. That I've read
I don't know how
that
much
a
I buy
lot
it either.
too.
Yeah,
That supposedly secret societies and these controllers, the powers that
Yeah.
want to be, as Monique says, what they do is they karmically have to tell you that what they're they have to tell you what they're doing, and they have to tell you it's bullshit. And if you believe it, that's on you. That's not on them. That's on you because they
Yeah.
told you it's bullshit. They
you
didn't
buy it.
I don't know.
I'm
I don't know if
I'm like this on it.
I was
I'm
kinda like
50-50
that.
on it as well. I don't know.
The only reason I'm like that is because we as human beings, we're so susceptible to myths. It's such myth
Exactly.
making. Like they make themselves into these myths. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, karma. Like these guys aren't doing that. They don't have time for that. You know, like I just feel like this is a lot of smoke and mirrors to make us think they're bigger than they are and they're more. You know,
I agree with
Uh,
that 100%.
and that they've planned everything and anything we notice is because of their karma. You know, like it makes them so much larger than life in our heads. And I don't think it's that. I think they're just trolling us. They're just going
could,
like,
it could very well, yeah, it could just be that they're just
It-
like, oh, look at these idiots. They'll believe anything. We'll do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
and-
could
and-
very
and if
well
they
just be that.
because think about any bullshit they do. If we call it out, we look like idiots.
Right. Exactly. Because
so
they have
it's
way
good-
more people
it's smart to
believing
put
it
it
than not. Yeah.
So it's smart to put in these Easter eggs and make this idiot like us call it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
don't
I
know,
mean,
I'm
look at
torn on that.
the first people that when the term conspiracy theorist was coined by the
Yeah.
CIA,
CIA, yeah.
it was to make people that were questioning the JFK assassination look crazy, because
Mhm.
the obviously the story is I mean, there's a million holes in
It's
it.
so obviously bullshit. You know, like every
Right.
kid knows that.
Yeah.
When they hear about it in school the first time, they're like, oh, okay, so this is some bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. And
But we just
so-
don't know what happened.
Right. But then that's when you question it, you're a conspiracy theorist, and they
You're a
give it
conspiracy theorist.
immediately. There's a negative connotation
Yes.
attached to that
It's
title, you know?
it's like it's their way of tagging people. Like
Right. Yeah.
the CIA just tags you. It's like we basically self-select, you know.
Yeah.
We take their bait and now we're conspiracy theorists. And they know, okay, this guy's on this side, and you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And so it's
If you
Yeah.
notice, there's like a theme with that whole conspiracy theorists. It's like a negative connotation with it
yes.
because they don't want you questioning it. They don't want you questioning anything. And what happens? Where are we now? We're at the point where if people just question stuff,
Yeah.
we can get attacked. How dare you? And that's been
Yeah.
happening, for decades.
Yes.
But it's like it just kind of got momentum, and not just about JFK assassination, not just about
Everything.
aliens, but
Everything.
everything.
Sure.
And
Well, somebody said
go on.
they weaponized they weaponized stupidity.
That's it.
Like,
Hell yeah.
the-
That's a good way of
The
putting it. Right
idiot
there.
has more power than we do right now.
Yeah, it's true.
And
Yeah.
you know, and by trying to sound smart, we actually come off as a super spreader.
Yeah. 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 Mhm.
It's a genius plan, really, if you think about it.
It is. I gotta say, I gotta respect whoever came up with this whole deal.
Yeah,
They're
it's a con of all cons, you know.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Big
but
time.
I think the only way out is that we just kind of got to not give them the attention anymore, because I think it's all about attention. I don't know if we've talked about this, but I think what they do is the reason they play all these games and they traumatize everybody is because they need nations to be on the same page. You know, they need all of America, all of Canada to be on the same page, because if we're not, we're going off and spinning off into our own universes and doing our own things. And then there's no authority and there's no government.
Right.
Right. And they need us to believe that they're the solution to all our problems.
They're our saviors.
Yeah. Now there's going to be a food shortage for the next little while, and we'll beg for them to fix it, you know, like,
Of course.
and I think that's what it is. And it's once they can't keep our attention on the same page anymore because people don't believe it, that's when we're free. The only thing that confuses me is, I'm sure you guys notice this too, but they seem to be letting on that things are fake.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I've
and
been
I wonder-
questioning that, because
yeah.
I feel like, are they going to use it to try to like bite us in the ass with it somehow?
Something will happen.
Of course.
My big guess is what's going to happen, and you guys should be prepared for this. I don't know if you've used any of these terms, but what's going to happen is at some point they're going to take the NPC term and they're going to weaponize it. Somebody's going to go out and kill somebody because they're an NPC, and then they're going to say, "Oh, look at these dangerous people that call everybody NPCs," you know.
Sure.
And then we'll automatically. Now the trick to that is you just don't care. If you don't care, there's not. It's all mind control. Like, they can't really do anything. If I don't care if a bunch of guys on my Twitter yelling at me, I just mute them.
Yeah.
Well, we had a conversation with Conrad, and we were
love that guy.
talking. He is
Yeah, he's
awesome.
awesome.
Oh my
He's
goodness,
awesome.
we love him. And so we were having this really great conversation, and we said like, oh yeah, well, we don't watch the news, because you brought up Evergreen, the boat that got stuck going straight.
Good for you,
And
by the way.
what?
I said good for you, by the way, for not watching the news.
We don't have cable. We don't watch the
That's great.
news. We don't have
Awesome.
news apps. We took them all off, and no idea. And so
Excellent.
he was like, we were talking about like, you know, is it a point like when it's almost like is it burying your head in the sand? You know, and because then all these other people are gonna watch it and manifest from watching it. Is that going to happen? And I was like, but if everyone just shut off their TVs, if everyone could just do that,
Yeah. Well,
imagine.
I think you're right. I mean, and see, by tuning it out and by calling it fake and stuff, we're also kind of helping people, right? Like, you guys are doing this podcast, are people finding your podcast, and they might realize, hey, let me turn off my TV. So I think the best we can do is just be on our individual platforms and just shout as much as we can, make jokes as much as we can, not get caught in any of these loose harvesting things, you know.
Yeah.
Like, even this tanker right now, they're really just trying to get you scared. I'm not scared at all, you know, because I know it's just whatever. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Life always keeps going, you know?
I'm not getting that feeling in my gut, seeing like,
No.
oh no,
Yeah.
I'm just like,
If anything,
really?
I'm laughing because they're winking a little bit, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
weren't they saying that this is going to be another toilet paper shortage or something like that because of this ship?
see,
Like,
you see.
what was
What?
on the
And
ship?
my mom laughed.
like what?
What was on the ship? Does anyone know what it was carrying?
Apparently
No,
toilet paper. I don't know.
I don't-
Like,
I'm
that's why
not
I'm asking. Like, was it toilet paper?
No, but everybody on Twitter seems to, like, you know, like all the Q people that you know, they seem to think it's human trafficking, which to me is what they want you to think. Like, they want us to
okay.
think that, oh, is this some kind of, are these containers filled with people?
Is that
There's a
really
lot of
what
it
people
going-
are saying? No kidding.
It's happening. But
wow.
it's really the Q people. I don't want to be disparaging or anything, but it's a certain type of person that thinks a certain way. Like, they're still waiting for because Q sets the storm is coming, all these things are coming, and they think this might be the event. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what it makes
Okay.
me think of? Like a broad getting stood up, still waiting for the date to show up when like everyone
what it-
else knows, like, honey,
Yeah.
he's not coming.
Especially if the date continued to gaslight her and pretend that he was coming. Like, that's what's happening. They're being
Yeah.
gaslit.
That's a
and
movie right there.
right? And I hope that, like, you know, part of me hopes that they turn out to be right. I'll make jokes and stuff, but I still hope that, like, all these assholes get put away and everything, you know. But
Sure.
the truth is, they would not put it on CNN and Fox. They're not
Agreed.
going to put this tanker that's filled with human bodies. And if human bodies do fall out of it tomorrow, and that's a big news story, it's all planned.
Of
It's
course.
so that you feel like we got the human traffickers. Meanwhile, the real human traffickers are still doing everything they're doing, and we don't even know their names.
Yeah.
Of course.
But I just find
Mhm.
it weird. Like, why aren't they saying what's in the cargo?
I
This big
haven't
thing,
looked-
wouldn't they come out and say like, oh yeah, and it's cargo of car
Yeah.
parts or
I haven't
you know,
heard anything. I
manufacturing
might not have looked
supplies.
closely. It might be there, but it's not a conversation. And that, you know, I always think of do you guys know who J.J. Abrams is?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So J.J. Abrams has this TED Talk years ago where he would talk about the mystery box. And it's this idea that he has in a lot of his movies where if you set up a mystery in a movie, that acts like this kinetic energy that moves you through a story because you want to know, like they could go in any direction, but you still want to know what's in the box.
Yeah.
Right. It's a story device that he uses a lot, like in Lost. You know, even in his movies, he sets up this kind of like mystery, and then the whole movie you want them to figure out, like it creates momentum.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of Q, everything has been that. It's been this like these breadcrumbs that get your mind going, and then you just want to know. Like the mind needs resolution. Once a story starts, we need to know how it ends.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're hacking that. They're hacking that so big time with the news and stuff. You're just constantly waiting for what's next, what's next, what's next. And look at us. We don't even pay attention. Like you don't pay attention, but yet still I know what's going on because a part of me wants to know what's next.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just curious if it's toilet paper.
Right? They definitely said that there's going to be a toilet paper shortage, but I think they're implying because, you know, I think it's like a really major like canal or dock, and the blocking of it is not going to allow other food and toilet paper and so forth to pass through. But it's such bullshit because if you look at the picture, it's not stuck. It's not stuck.
Right. Yeah. It's not at all.
First of all, it's not stuck. Second of all, how did that happen anyway? It's a ship going straight. I don't know how that happened. And
it's never happened before.
Hey, hasn't that canal been
and
open
also,
since like the 1800s?
how is it
too?
still stuck? It's been days. Like on the day we're recording, it's been days. How is it still stuck? Like with the technology we have.
You see what I'm saying? And if it's going to cause worldwide food shortages and like famine or whatever they're trying to say, why don't we just blow it up? Like, what's going on? What, like,
get it out of the way.
None of this makes any sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But normies just sit there and they just be like, well, I guess we've got this tanker situation.
Yeah.
Sucks to be us.
Oh man, Martha, rush to the store, get toilet paper. Get, you know,
get the shotgun. We need some toilet paper.
Oh my God. That's basically what it is. They just get everybody panic and run, you know? And I think the trick is that you can always go to a small town and get toilet paper. Like there's a lot of small towns just nearby. You go there, they're never out. They're fine.
Right.
Nobody's panicking there.
Yep, exactly.
I've said it before in the show with the whole COVID, the original like toilet paper supply last year. We got leaves. Worst case scenario, it's not like you can use like a washcloth. Like there are alternatives, people.
It was mind blowing. It was mind blowing that this was the emergency of our century. Like, you know, like people were just like, toilet paper. What will I do without toilet paper?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Like there's no alternatives.
Yeah. But I mean, that just kind of shows you where we are collectively as a society. That's what people worry about now. You know,
Bro,
it's
don't you feel like we're living in an episode of The Simpsons?
Or Idiocracy. You ever see that movie Idiocracy?
Yeah,
Same
yes,
idea,
exactly
right?
that. Yeah, same, like just a bunch of dummies around. Like,
yeah,
it's like they take all these things and they make a remix and just like mash it all together.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's this. I'm sure you feel the same way. But the last year was the year where I kind of really realized that, you know, 90% of human beings are not thinking.
No,
like they're not. They're literally just they're cattle. You can herd them anyway. You know, like just a little bit of manipulation, and that scared the shit out of me last year. Just realizing that I thought there was more smart people. My smartest friends were unaware, no understanding what's going on.
Yeah, but, I'll tell you. Sorry, I had to go to the doctor's recently, and just sitting in the doctor's waiting room, and just looking around. Like I'm not one of those people that pulls out my phone. I always like leave my phone in my pocket, and I like to look around and just kind of, you know, if there's somebody close by, I'll like strike up a conversation, something like that. Now everybody's wearing a mask. Everybody's looking at a phone or watching the TV that's on the wall in the waiting room. There's no magazines anymore. Nobody's talking to each other.
And we're not getting any facial expressions or like cues, you know?
Dude, it's crazy.
I
was just sitting in there looking around going, wow, I'm like the only one looking around at people, and everybody's just, it's unbelievable. And if anybody's walking close by to somebody, they're you know, scurrying away, trying to get away. And it's just like, whoa. And I remember telling you when I got home, like, I'm scared for humanity. Like it's evaporating. It's crazy. It's scary. It
seems to me though that they like, you know, after 9/11, it took about 4 years or so for things to get a little bit back to normal. And I have a feeling it's going to be kind of similar here. It's going to take about 4 years stuff to get not back to normal. We're never going back to normal, but to somewhat people start taking off masks, and then in 20 years they'll do another one. It seems to be every 15, 20 years they'll do. What I'm hearing, what my guess is, the next one is some space junk's going to fall out of the sky and crush some people, you know, and then they'll be like, oh, space junk falling everywhere. That seems to be the next big one that they want to push.
Yeah,
just remember when they used to
waiting for that.
bicycle helmets? Yeah, now it's going to be helmets for space junk.
Because that's
insane.
going to stop something falling at like 1,000 miles per hour.
Well, I
and
mean, do
burning
you
in our
really think,
atmosphere.
you know, hiding under a desk at school is going to protect you from a
It's
nuke?
same logic.
You know, same idea.
It's to train your mind to have this cognitive dissonance, so that things that don't make sense, you just accept them.
If something's going to fall from the
So
sky
true.
and kill me, as sucky as that would be, then that was my time.
Exactly. And they're going to have everybody looking up at the sky now. That's the worst part. They're going to have everybody going like, oh my God, I hope I don't get hit with something.
Yeah.
Because there's a Leonardo DiCaprio movie that's coming out next year that's all about space junk.
Really?
Yeah, it's
And-
the psyops are crazy. The psyops are
You know what?
Jeez.
That actually sounds like a lawsuit to me, because who puts all that space junk out there? Our countries, our governments. So if something did happen, I smell a class action lawsuit.
I would hope so. we have to get Maria 777 on it.
I didn't put the space junk up there. That's
It's
to
true,
see if space
but-
is even real, though.
If it's even real, right?
Right.
And then, you know, even like the idea that I'm noticing is that every psyop is about all the bullshit they do, and then they blame it on us.
It's gaslighting.
And then we walk around, exactly. And you know, I'm sure you did too when you were younger. You walk around thinking like, you know, I gotta recycle. I don't want to be a bad person. You know, and it's all it's the same as religion. You're walking around thinking I'm a bad person. You know, and meanwhile they're the ones flying around their jets and their, you know, at the giant factories that are polluting the sky, and we're the ones, like, it's our footprint that's causing the global warming. Like,
Because we put a can in the trash. Because we
Yeah.
use straws.
Yeah.
it's nonsense. It's and now it's everybody believing that breathing is wrong. You know.
Right. Yeah. It's
And you know what, too? How do we get oxygen? Trees and plants.
Yeah.
What do they need to grow, to produce oxygen?
Carbon dioxide. Yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't even think about that. Wow.
And
that's
I've been
that's how
asking Alex
really
about
find
that.
out.
yeah, that's how ridiculous the whole global warming, carbon emissions, all that's how ridiculous that whole thing is.
No, that's all bullshit. And I
And
fell
nobody
for it.
even thinks of that, you know. It's like,
No,
how do you not realize that that's just BS, you know?
because you're used to doing these, you know, get under your desk things.
Yeah.
Your mind is used to going, oh, they know better.
Right. You're right.
Yeah.
That's it.
There's one thing I believe is
Crazy.
real, and that's the earth, the
Yeah.
ground that we're walking on, the plants that we grow, the food that we eat, not all the food that's out there
Yeah,
to eat,
yeah,
but
I agree.
the food we eat. And I look at it like everyone should try to be growing their own food if they can. Like, we don't
Yeah.
have a lot of land right now, but I'm using grow bags, you know, just
Mhm.
with the soil, just to plant some
Yeah.
stuff to get it growing. And I think it's so important with the plants. Like, people should start
So-
trying to grow more
I
plants
agree.
and get that oxygen rich, you know.
Yeah.
And I also believe, like, talk to your plants and tell them that you love them. And
No, it's really cool. I love
Yeah.
that stuff. I never used to believe any of that stuff, but the last like few years have really changed me, made me realize that like it's really spirituality, right? It's like once you start opening your heart to these things, you start realizing, oh, like, you know, it's one of the reasons I sometimes get frustrated with like vegans or something, not because of a lot of choices, but just because I don't know if you guys are vegan or not. I don't know, but sometimes it's like what anybody that understands anything knows that plants are just as like we call it like sentient or whatever.
Yes.
it's prana. It's in everything.
It's
So
in everything. Yeah.
it's in
So there's
everything.
no.
It's the life force and everything. Trees,
cannot-
rocks have
You
life
also
force.
You literally can't live without destroying some other life. It's the cycle of living. You know.
Yeah, it's the way
And
this
they
world is
psyop
set
you.
up. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
actually what I do, it's because I eat meat and I eat plants. I
Me
drink
too.
coffee. Coffee is a plant.
Mhm.
Every morning.
My headphones might die any second.
Oh, okay.
Like we'll still be able to do without the headphones too. though.
Okay.
Okay.
Every morning I make my coffee and I give thanks to the plants and animals who sacrifice
That's
themselves
cool.
so I can eat, so I can
Yes.
drink. And I share my gratitude. And it's just like, because at first I was doing just the meat. I'm like, but plants are living. You can talk to
Yeah.
them and see the difference when
Yeah.
they grow. They have that life force. And when I was
Mhm.
little, I used to talk to like trees and rocks, and I felt the life force in rocks. And people think
as
it's
a
just a
kid,
rock.
you do sense that. Yeah, you have these ideas as a kid that they put. I never felt it like you, but you definitely, you're open to these ideas. What if there's rock? What if, but they get like ironed out of you very quickly in school. You
Yes.
start feeling stupid, and
Mhm.
Yeah, because we talked about school and how they program you. And I
Yeah.
remember when I want to say it was first grade, I mentioned to a teacher, like some of the stuff I saw. And it was just like, mm,
Yeah, you're a little crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's cute, but you really need to think about what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of the way
And
it's
who
like,
is
Break
you're
it down.
wrong. You're
Also,
wrong
who is
and you
this
sound
teacher?
stupid.
And
Yeah.
my thing is like, who's this teacher? Like, it's just like when you look back at some of the teachers who said some of the dumbest things to you, it's like they were just some people in their 20s or 30s.
Right.
Like they're just some dude.
Yeah.
He's barely
Exactly.
getting through his day.
Exactly.
And that
Yeah.
teacher might have thought she was helping me.
Yeah,
But what it did was it starts diminishing that light
it
inside.
does. And you can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah. And then as I kind of get back to my real self, it's like, no, I'm right. There is living energy in everything. And that's why, like, yeah, with plants, like these vegans, vegetarians, and I'm friends with people who are vegan and vegetarian. Yep.
Can you
But
hear me?
I can hear you great.
Okay, good. There we go.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, perfect. I'm friends with people like that. And I just look at it like one of my spirit guides is a bird. And he often
cool.
comes to me as a hawk or an eagle. He can change. Hawks eat other animals. They eat, like, birds eat other birds and
Yeah.
animals.
All the animals we love.
Yeah. And
Yep.
it's like, and so when I think about it, I'm like, well, it happens in nature. It
Sorry, I'm
happens
just changing
with,
the sound of this. Isn't
no
listening,
worries.
though.
It happens with animals. So I don't, I have it inside. Like, I feel drawn to meat. That's what I crave.
Yeah, me too.
That's what I want. And when I've tried to be vegetarian, it just didn't work. So I need that plant meat balance.
Yeah, I guess.
But the change I made where I started finally feeling better is when I give my gratitude and I tell my food that I love it and I say thank you. And that's what works for me. And I'm not saying everyone has to do that.
That makes so much sense.
I just share it like I get the opportunity, like this plant, these coffee beans, or these almonds or the stevia plant, for my morning coffee. They all sacrifice themselves, whether they were willing to or not. And I think maybe in the big grand scheme of it, it knew before it became that, like, this is my purpose, but it did that. And I get the opportunity to take that in. Well,
That's so fascinating.
I'm going to give love and gratitude to it, especially because you're putting it in your body. Don't you want love and gratitude and like a good feeling?
It's got to be an energy exchange. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's also how the natives did it, right? Like most Aboriginal cultures tend to, when they would hunt or something, they would like pray over it and say, thank the universe and the animal for giving its life. Yep. And I think I'm realizing as you're saying that's probably like a form of enlightenment for all of us to realize that, it's a cycle of life. Life eats life. It destroys life. It creates life. It's just, there's nothing you can do about it. When you take a step outside, you probably kill a bunch of bacteria, insects, whatever, But the point is, you just got to be grateful and know that life is being given to you so you can live. And then one day your turn will be up and you'll be gone. And and I think you're right, because I grew up Muslim. I grew up. My family's very Pakistani Muslim. I'm not really practicing, but a lot of those ideas are still in my head. I'm sure a lot of Christians and Catholics feel the same way as they get older. But there was always this idea that when you sacrifice, when you eat food or any animal that gave its life for you, like meat, that you always say a prayer over it before you eat, to acknowledge this life that was given for you, to bless it, all that. So the energy is good. As a kid, I didn't understand any of that stuff because my mom couldn't articulate in a way that made sense to me, Yeah. But I realized that's what was going on. Is that these are like old truths, appreciate what you're eating, because I love how vegans think. Like, I know what they're doing. They're very compassionate and so forth. But the idea is, you're not free of sins. You know what I mean? Like, right. if that's the idea, if the idea is to be free of sin, my point is nobody's free of sin, or what sin as just using it loosely.
Yeah,
sure.
But so yeah, no, I really relate to what you said. Actually, I've been trying to do that more. Before I eat something, and I just be like, thank you. I'm glad I have food. I'm glad I have family. I mean,
Yeah.
I had trouble doing it every meal, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it in the beginning of the day. I drink my water, and I give gratitude for fresh, clean water.
it's good.
And it's just because like I'll be taking showers and I'm like, oh my God, I have clean water. How great is that? How lucky am I? It's the little things. And that's ever
Yes.
since my boys were babies, I've been trying to teach them is like, just be thankful for what you have. You might not think it's enough compared to what other people have, but if you can get food and you have clean water and you have a roof over your head, you're golden.
Yes.
And especially if you have people who love you, that's a bonus.
That's the most important thing, really.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doubling down on family lately. Just, you know, I fed my trouble with family, like we all do. Grow up, we have arguments. But as I get older, I'm just realizing, you know, friends come and go. Everybody comes and goes. It's your family that's always going to be there.
Right.
And it's the same thing. It's like, you know, with all the bullshit going on in the world, what do you really have other than like your real connections with people, you know, and also your friends to some degree. Like I feel like I made real connections in this community with you guys, with, you know, and like I feel like last year has gotten me, like you guys and other podcasts and so forth have gotten me through this pandemic, whatever this is, you know.
I think we've done it for each other.
That's what I mean. And that I've been realizing that's the feelings that come with that are way better than any car you buy, any material, anything. It's like, oh, these people get me, I get them, and we're helping each other in some way, you know. And that community building or whatever it is, I don't think I valued that when I was younger, but now I really, especially since last year and everything that happened, it's just like, wow, there's some crazy people out there. I'm glad that the good people are sticking together now. You know?
Right.
And what's funny about that is like there's some crazy people out there, and that's what people are saying about us.
Exactly.
You know, we're someone's crazy people. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, it's like family is so important to us. Like I'm very close to my parents, and I feel like Alex and I have had this discussion. We both feel that over the years, it's like society is trying to break apart the family unit.
Oh yeah.
It used to be like, you know, parents, their kids got older, and then the parents took care of, you know, like the kids took care of the parents and multi-generational homes and things like that. And now you have so many people, because of the rat race that life is, putting their parents in nursing homes because they can't afford to build another part of the house and have 24-hour nursing care, whatever it is that they need. And it's just, I feel like it's made that way to separate, and the way that the kids are being taught in school to separate them from their parents. And it's like, no, we need to stick to our families, and not every family gets along, and not, you know, like there are issues. But when you have a good family unit, I was like, my parents, I will take care of them. They're not going in a home. I don't care if I have to quit my job and, you know, take care of them 24/7. Like, that's how it is.
Yep.
And it's just, it's interesting that there's such a contrast with that thought with family. Like, no, my parents can go in a home. Like, how?
No, I know, it's bizarre. It was like that growing up too. Like, I grew up around a lot of Indian people, even though I'm Pakistani, but the community that I live in is a lot of Indian people in this little suburb of Toronto called Brampton that I live in. And, you know, immigrants are very family based. So like, you know, my mom's always going to live with me. That's just, I'm the oldest, I'm going to take care of her. It's just how it is. But our friends weren't like that. And it was always like, when you're 18, you're out of the house, you know? And we used to always think that was like a white people thing. Like we used to be like, oh, white people just out of the house when you're 18. Like it was weird to us. But turns out it's not a white people thing. It's a cultural, like, it's a thing. What do you call it? It's a workforce thing. Like, you go through school, that's what it's going to do. Like, parents are worried that their kids aren't going to get a job, so they're trying to get them out so that they, you know, get on their feet and so forth. But it's breaking apart, you know, society in a way. Like, people aren't, you know, I'm super pro family, like, but also like I have to acknowledge that I come from like a divorce, right? Like I got divorced. So my parents were always together. They were like perfect, you know? So I always thought I would have that too. Turns out that's not how life works. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so when we had this divorce, you know, people would think that life gets awful after that, but my life got amazing after that. You know, because we both got our own space. Our kids were still fine. They know we love each other. Everything's cool. We just not, we're not romantic anymore. So not a thing, you know? Yeah. But my point is, I've been realizing that even that is a psyop. They convince you that when you get divorced and you have a broken family, that family unit is not like it's not a real thing. But me, my ex, her husband, you know, any other relationship I've had, I had one serious relationship since then. It's always integrated so perfectly because we all only care about the kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they leave that part out of movies and books.
Right.
Right. Because it's not dramatic. Like you can't make, what's a movie if the husband and wife aren't fighting? But,
Exactly.
But the thing is, that's what I'm saying. If I feel like the family unit is bigger than just the, traditional nuclear family. I think that's very important. Like if that can exist, but I think what they need to acknowledge is that we need communities. You know, it's because I actually really believe that a bunch of adults should be raising a child, meaning the parents, you two, and then like your brother, your sister, like they have such a huge impact on the child. It's not just you two, you know? So if there is a stepdad or something like that, who's a great person, that kid just benefited. He's got two dads now.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and people don't understand that. And I think that's on purpose. It's on purpose so that we further divide ourselves. We further get scared of things, you know, and it's crazy. Like I remember when we first, I'll tell you one last thing. When we got divorced, I remember it was so like peaceful and calm. We just did it. We just signed papers. We didn't go through the lawyers, nothing. We didn't want any of that drama.
Right.
And people, her friends, and you know, her friends would be like, "Why aren't you taking him for everything he's got? Like, why aren't you going to the lawyers? Like, why are you guys so okay with it?" Like, they were disturbed by the fact that we were okay. And I remember thinking, "Oh, that's society. It's just trained everybody to think that you have to hate everybody."
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like. It's just there's so much breaking up. It breaks it. It's like an abusive relationship.
Yes.
When you're in an abusive relationship, what do? They try to separate you from everybody. Yeah. They lie to your family about you to separate you from your family. They lie to your friends about you to separate you from your friends. They'll try to dig their way into your coworkers and lie about you to separate.
You're giving me goosebumps right now.
They want you
because
on an island.
Happening.
Yes, that's what it is though. It's an abusive relationship and I have been through it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I can relate. I know it's like they get in every crevice of your life.
Yes.
To separate you and put you on an island and say, I'm all you have.
Yeah.
Without you realizing it. Because we all go through the
alienation phase, right? Where we feel like as teenagers, not even in your 20s, you really almost feel like society gets you more than your family.
Yeah.
Until you snap out of it, you know?
Yep. It's true.
It's so, yeah, society gets you more. And one of the things, like I was into punk rock and we had our scene, our community and this camaraderie. But when you really looked in, it was all bullshit because you still had the same cliques. Zoomed out. Oh yeah, everyone, they're at a show and everyone's singing along, fists up in the air. Really zoom in. That person's talking shit about this person. You know, it's like, oh, that one, you know, thinks they're more punk rock because their mohawk's higher than that person. The bullshit. And you realize it's like, okay, like I thought I'd fit in here because Island of Misfit Toys, I don't fit in anywhere else. Yep. And yeah, I did make some real friends, but very few. And yeah, and then it's like, it's all the same. It's society makes these little groups, these little cliques, and they base it off stuff like music and movies, and books to get a common interest to make it look like we get you. And let's slap a label on you. Make it feel
like these secondary families might be better than your real family. Because I was thinking about that. Somebody posted on Twitter earlier today, like, what was the psyop of Friends? You know, and they were saying, what if Friends was a psyop? Because to some degree, for it to be that popular, it definitely got pushed a little harder than another show would once it started doing well, I'm sure, you know? But and I was like, oh, that's so simple. The psyop of that was that your friends are more important than your family. It happened in the 90s. We all started thinking hanging out at coffee shops with your homies and stuff was like, yeah, the boomers, like, you know, they don't get it.
Yeah. This is funner than family dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It just, because you know what it is? It's like, if we all believe we're like you said, we're these islands unto our own and nobody gets us and, you know, only this artist gets us or this band gets us, whatever, then they can mind control us, right? Because we can't corroborate ideas with each other. We can't say, no, me and my family are not going to get vaccinated because we're all on the same page. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
No, meanwhile, everybody's on a different page. Everybody's like fighting each other in most homes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. My family pretty much gets it's all nonsense, you know? But I've seen other families, like, you know, even some of the everything fake people, and even some of them are struggling with their families because of, and not anything bad. It's just, that's what the PSYOP has done. It's created this division in people. And, you know, like, I don't want to get the vaccine. No, our kids should get the vaccine. You know, like that. Imagine being in that situation. I can't even, you know.
I couldn't even.
And we're very
fathom it.
fortunate that like Alex and I are on the same page.
Yeah.
And
With everything, thankfully.
That's great.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, it's like we're
Yeah.
always like, if one person's not so sure, we just talk about it. I'm big on pros and cons lists. It's like, well, but yeah, no, we're on the same page with that, with everything. So
You guys
don't have that.
that's one of the reasons I love the podcast is because you guys have like really great energy. I'm sure you feel the same way, but like most couples aren't the most fun. You know what I mean? You almost feel like you're the third wheel or something. But you guys don't have that at all. That's one of the things I love. Like, you don't feel like you're in a podcast with a couple. You feel like you're in a podcast with two friends, you know?
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
He's
And
my
I think
best
that's
friend.
Yes.
Yeah, like I don't see any competition. I just see like two people that are just on the same page, and they, you know, they're both curious, and that's so cool to see, because you never see that in podcasts. You never see, like, I mean, anytime you see a relationship or a marriage, they're always bickering, and you know, and you guys don't. I mean, if you do, it's joking. Well, everybody has that.
Yeah.
But it's just good energy coming off it, and I love that. Like, I'm all about good energy
Yeah.
right now,
Thank you.
Yeah.
because I don't want to be near demons.
No.
Did you checked out that episode I sent to
Oh
you?
my God.
Okay, so for everyone listening, for our watchers and our hearers, I sent him, he was talking about demons. You were talking about demons, and my friend Karen Rontowski has a podcast, Paranormal Karen, which I love. I've been listening to it for years. I adore her. She's been on our show. We've been on hers. And she had a guest, Diet, who is a medium. And she channeled a demon. And it is an amazing episode. Go find Paranormal Karen, listen to this episode. Let me know what you thought about it. Go.
Fascinating. I was even live tweeting it. I was, you know, I feel like it, because I don't know how much of it is real, but it felt like the most rational take I've heard on demons, but it came from a demon. So I'm not so sure.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was the same way as you. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was with it, and I was really excited. I couldn't wait for her to have him, you know, the demon on again. And then I listened to the next episode. There was an episode where she addresses the whole demon thing.
Yeah.
Did you listen to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And all the
I listened to
fallout
all of
from
her
it?
episodes.
Oh my God. And I was, because, you know, it ends so well. She's like, oh, I can't wait to have you on again. Oh, I have so many questions. And I'm so excited. Then you listen a couple episodes later, and she's like, well, my life went to hell after that.
She gets like attacked for like the stupidest stuff. Like
Yeah.
she
Oh, you
talked
mean
to
online?
somebody. Yeah, like she talked to somebody in the QAnon circle trying to explain, and it wasn't because that's what she believes. She just wanted to give a perspective
Yeah, she
based
seems
off
rational to me.
based off of what people are going on, and you know, people gave her shit about that. She posted something. I think this was after I got off Instagram, but I saw it on Twitter. Like, she posted something about it shouldn't matter what side you're on, liberal, conservative, whatever, just be good to each other. And she got
Common
attacked for
sense.
that. She got attacked for that. And it's insane. It's just like, here's somebody trying to say, hey, here's a different perspective, just different thoughts. This is what some people are thinking. Here you go.
Crazy. Browsing her Twitter feed, my first impression was, this is a very rational and self-aware person, and funny, like very funny.
She's a comedian. She was on Letterman.
What?
She was on Letterman. Yeah, David Letterman. Yeah.
She's
funny.
She's very funny. You could tell that she even like sharpened, like it was like sharp wit. It wasn't just like Twitter wit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, she's so funny. And she's probably, and I know I say this about a lot of my friends, but she has such a good, genuine heart.
Yeah. You
She's
feel it.
So kind and so sweet, and just,
which is why I enjoyed the episode so much, because it was like, okay, here's two people that don't seem to be bullshitting you, and they just having a conversation. And then a couple episodes later, her talking about how much, like, demonic energy seemed to be around her after that episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, all right, I don't want to hear anything else. I'm good. I never want to hear another demon interview in my life.
But yeah, and part of it is, it would make sense if there's different levels of that, because you have the higher ones.
Yeah.
and yeah, then you kind of go lower level, and that's, I think, the shit that really drags.
What
like-
was your impression of it all?
I thought it was interesting because the demon had actually said a couple things that I told somebody in a tarot reading like weeks before. And I was like, ooh, that's really interesting, because I like, one of the things was essentially like these alien type people, these not quite human people, they're going to look human, but you're going to be able to tell the difference. And I got that in a tarot reading for somebody. And I was like,
I've heard similar things.
Yeah, but it was just so weird. I was like, that's basically what I just told somebody. Like,
Well,
wow.
There's nothing he said, and the demon said in that interview that didn't sound intuitively right. Like, it sounded rational, intuitive, and kind of what I thought. I'd for a while been thinking, are these things really evil, or are these like projections of like, like our people's Catholic guilt or Islamic guilt? There's so much unchecked shadow work that might be, projected on these things, and then they might just play up on it, right? Like, oh, you hate me? Well, here we go, and that's kind of what he was saying, was that they're just really just testing you, and you don't think you're God, so they're not going to respect you, even though they're there to serve you. And that makes so much sense to me.
And they want to learn
when
from
the next
you.
episode, and she realized that she'd been a little conned by, wanting to, like he said, he would come on again.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, why can't they play fair? Because I like that guy.
Right.
You were kind of cool.
No. And I was like, oh, we're building bridges here between humanity and demons.
But isn't that the point? Like, maybe, are you getting too comfortable? Because you're not supposed to.
Because even he says they still want to respect you as a boss, like as their kind of like, because they serve us essentially, is what he was saying. And if we're just being nonchalant about it, maybe they're like, oh, this guy's not ready, to command me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we had a conversation when we spoke to Conrad about, death and life and journeys. Like, I believe that our lives that we're in, it was planned out. We just don't remember it. So
yeah, that sounds like right to me too.
Because it's about evolution. Like, our souls need to evolve. We all have issues. We all have things we need to work on. So we get put in these lives and we get tested. We're going to say like, okay, this is what I need to work on. So I'm going to give my life where I'm abused and I'm raped and this and this and this happen. Let me see if I can get through it being a better person.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you also have to make a deal. Like, I need people to do this to me. And somebody has to step up and say like, okay, well, I'll rape you. And somebody's going to say, I'll do the sexual abuse. And somebody else says like, I'll be the abusive boyfriend.
And they might be working through their shit.
And yeah, because they all have to go through this stuff, because it's like trials. Like, and I think we take turns doing it and having it done to us. And it's part of the healing, like I have to do it, I have to do this, and then I have to have it done to me, but it carries a toll on the energy. And part of it is working on letting it go and releasing it once you leave that life. And that's the one thing with the demons where I'm just like, because if they are another type of spiritual energy to push us and test us, okay, it could all just be like, everything is just that, hey, this is the life that I chose. These are the challenges that I have, ahead of me.
Yeah.
How do I do?
Yeah.
Can I get through it with grace? Can I still be kind and loving understanding?
That sounds the closest to what I think I intuitively feel too. I'm the only thing I'm not 100% sure of, and I'm not against it. It's just something that I don't like. I haven't experienced it. I don't resonate. Is I don't know. I don't know about like past lives and so forth. I don't even know if you touched on that, but that's just the one thing I'm not sure about. I'm open to it, but I've never experienced it. And I don't know how much I trust my own, like, it's so easy to make up things in your mind, right? And I don't know how to differentiate between it. But and I also kind of like the idea that maybe we're just here once, maybe it is just, this is your life. It's one time. And I always look at it like, maybe I came here not to learn, definitely to learn lessons and to like, level up the soul and stuff, but also to like, to love, like, like my family, these things that I've experienced, in heaven, do I really care? I love everybody. I'm good. I don't know if I feel the contrast of like losing somebody, or like, having my dad, having had my father in my life until I was like 32. And, the greatest man I've ever known, like was really close. And then he's not here anymore. And now that means so much more than it ever did, because I took him for granted completely. He's my dad.
Sure.
Yeah.
But now I think about it all the time. And now with my son, I find his, habits creeping into me, like my dad's habits and stuff. And I wonder if those experiences, because they're so unique to living, right? If that's why we're here, because there's no way we could experience that just being one pure state, or if we were just once this, nebulous God that, couldn't feel anything and then created the world, people to, because I always think God created the world, or whatever created the world, created it for contrast. So that you could feel beauty and you could feel these, because what do they mean without contrast?
That's very true. Yes.
Yeah,
You know what I
you
mean?
can't
Like,
have good without evil.
Yeah.
How are you gonna
Exactly. And
know?
how do you love
Yeah.
your children if you're not scared for them?
Right.
Like,
That's true.
you love them more when you know that they're precious. You're only around for a certain time, and same with your parents. And I think I really think those are the lessons that most people leave this planet without. Because have you ever read that thing when there's that list of the 5 things that people say the most on their deathbed?
No.
No.
There was this little meme went out a few years ago, and it was like the top 5 things, and it's mind blowing when you see it. It's like, I wish I hadn't worked as much, and I had it a few years ago. I can't remember, but it was like nowhere on that list. This is the thing that stuck out to me the most. Out of the 5 things that people regretted the most was like love, just not working as much, spending more time with your kids, certain things like that. The thing that wasn't on it was friends. Nobody said, I wish I spent more time with friends. And it blew my mind.
Huh.
Nobody said it. Everybody's like, more family, more love. Wish I helped more people. Like, those things made me feel best in my life, but I didn't do enough of them. And they're really regretful. But nobody regretted not hanging out with their friends.
Wow.
Maybe that leads what you were thinking. Friendship,
Right.
the ultimate Messiah.
Maybe friends is just a certain part of your life. Like, it's your wolf pack when you're in high school or whatever.
Yeah.
You need that, And,
Sure.
and I'm sure lots of people have friends until they're older and they get lucky, but I don't think it's a requirement to the point that they make it seem in movies and stuff. Like, I think your family should be way higher in movies than it is.
Oh yeah.
Like
For sure.
like the hierarchy of priorities in movies and TV is completely different. Your friends are so much higher than your family, which is bizarre to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's true.
And I think that sometimes we have friends in our lives because they come in and they drop out, but they serve a purpose. They're there for that time for the purpose, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It's also, I'm sure you notice that when you spiritually level up, or when you start, when you, even with like starting to realize everything's fake. So now you're becoming more calm, you're becoming more grounded. People just fall off. Like, they can't keep up. They get disturbed by the fact that you're so calm or so zen about things, And so I think as you level up as a person, there's just, like you said, certain friends are only there for a certain time. And I'm sure you're teaching them a lesson too. Like, you're mutually benefiting from something, and then it's over, Yeah.
Because I think the reaction is, you should be as upset about this as I am. And it's like,
Nope.
No.
no, I shouldn't. Neither should
I've never
you.
been. Also, I think I'm sure you guys relate to this, but if you have a decent inner life, like thoughts, imagination, your friends are just bonus. Like, as a kid, I always kind of liked being alone, and I had lots of friends, but I liked being in my room. I liked reading books. And I always knew that I liked my brain, but a lot of people didn't like their brain, so they wanted to hang out with other people.
I totally relate to that.
I knew you would. I knew you would, because
that was me growing up too. Oh yeah.
It's why we're kind of thriving in this lockdown. You guys got this podcast, you're questioning things, and you're making community. It's because, this is like a comfort zone.
Yeah.
I think we've been we've set up our lives without knowing it, ready for this, because like, we started homeschooling our kids, like all these things were coming to us and not quite clicking, I guess, in a sense.
Yes,
like all the
totally
pieces,
relate.
not seeing the puzzle for what it is, like from far back. But
it's
it was
like you're being guided, but you don't know. Like,
because it's like, we started our podcast, which was just so, we wanted to do something fun with each other and just say, hey, this is our time for us. It's like our date night, we get to do something fun.
It's cool.
And you know, with the homeschooling the kids and just like the conversations we've had and the things that we've thought about and all the conspiracy theories we've discussed and different things like that. It's almost, and like when we stopped with professional wrestling, when I got pregnant with our second son, you know, we stopped, and I think Alex did a couple things here and there, but it was like that was a huge part of Friends that kind of got pulled away.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden it's like just you, it's your family. That's it. You don't really see people once in a while. You know, you try to go out,
I know
you try to
exactly
see
what you're talking
people,
about.
but everyone's busy and it's tough. And getting a sitter, that gets tough and expensive. And so it's just you and your family.
Mhm.
And you had mentioned before the family unit, the dynamic where a lot of people weren't ready when COVID hit, and then being home all the time with like the whole family together. That's how we've been for years.
Yeah, nothing's really
That's-
changed for us.
So
on
it's
the
like
home
nothing's
front,
changed.
so-
Like we don't leave the house.
You
Like-
guys are like you're guided or something. I really believe that because, you know, in my family when COVID hit, it's the same thing. Like without realizing it, the last couple of years we've been somehow maneuvering us in. I was definitely becoming more reclusive by choice, just realizing that the world was getting a little crazy and like I wasn't agreeing with friends as much as I used to, and you know, just realizing I kind of, and also I'd been in a couple of relationships recently that have really like run through me, and it made me realize that people aren't even the same anymore. Like they're a little bit more like irresponsible with, because it was a younger person too, like maybe like 6-7 years younger, and I know there was already like a generational gap, you know, and I kind of realized that I like being alone. I don't have any problem. I don't really like, even relationships to a certain point are a psyop. Like you want one because you see it in TV and you see it in music
Right.
videos and movies, but do you really
Mhm.
need it? You know? And
True.
I have my kids, so I'm really happy. And I started, you know, basically cutting down any work that required me to leave the house, meaning, you know, like corporate work or anything like that, and really focusing on things that I could do from, you know, from my bedroom, from the computer. And I've been the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so when this COVID thing happened, lockdowns happened, I remember thinking, I'm not scared at all because my life's set up perfectly for this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was just worried about everybody else. I remember just thinking, there's people are not prepared for this mentally. Like, I know how people are mentally. I'm not a very strong, like, I'm not the strongest person ever, but I've noticed that mentally I'm way stronger than most people throughout my life, just through experiences.
Mhm.
People can't handle little arguments, never mind, you know, like they lose their top over an argument, you know?
Right.
And now that they're stuck at home with COVID, and they don't know what to do, and they don't, and the, you know, the livelihoods are disappearing. It's gonna be a lot of mental illness coming up, you know, and that's what I was scared about: children being abused, things like that. But
Sure.
like you guys, somehow the universe, God, whatever. And I was telling you earlier about my daughter left university.
Mhm.
Same thing. Something just said, no, it's time to go. Like this is not the place. And imagine being in university right now. Like I always say, I don't know how right I'm about this, but I don't think business people and employers are stupid. They're not going to hire people that come out of university during Corona because these people have not learned anything.
Right.
Mhm.
For sure, like if I'm an employer, I'm going to have a list in front of me that says just don't hire anybody from 2019 and 20 that would, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
true.
like, what did they learn? Nothing. And so my point was, even universities suddenly devalued themselves with it during Corona, and didn't handle it well at all. Like the students were confused. You couldn't get money back. You couldn't fit, like everything. It was a shit show, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somehow my daughter avoided all that by just a month.
It's amazing.
And she's
And
intuitive like that. Like she's like you, like she's very empath, you know, like,
yes, but it that's the thing. People need to follow their gut. They need to go
Yes.
with their intuition, because what happens so often that I see is they start to overanalyze. And
You
once
nailed
you
it.
start overanalyzing, go with that initial gut feeling, because it only lasts a moment. But that is
Nailed
what
it.
you have to go with. And if you don't, that's where you know, kind of wind yourself up in these predicaments, because you're not going with your gut. And like your daughter just, nope, this is what I need to do, and wasn't afraid. Because I think that's the other part, is sometimes people are afraid, and she wasn't
Yeah.
afraid. Because think about it. How tough of a decision is that? You're in college and you're going to make the decision to say, no, I'm going to stop right now.
Yeah.
think about the way society puts a label on you,
Exactly.
the way families can put a label on
Mhm.
you, friends can put a label on you. And it's so negative
It
because
is.
think about movies and how they take that person who's, I'm going to take some time off to discover myself or take care of myself.
Yeah, it's like they're aloof or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like they're listening to what they need inside. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Because who knows? Like something
I
better may
think
come up.
a lot of kids are and she always asks me why aren't other kids like that. I think a lot of kids are raised in a way where their parents gaslight them, like their instincts, their gut instincts. No, you're not wrong. Don't think about that. No, don't worry about that. Just whatever they said, and then you get these normies, you know. But
Mhm.
my daughter, I was always like, "What do you think?" You know. And I remember when she came to me one day and said, "You know, is Santa real?" Like during Christmas, and she's like 4 or something. She's like, "Is Santa real?" And I can see it in her eyes. She's already figured it out. What am I going to
Yeah.
say? No. Like
Right.
I'd be gaslighting her. She's smarter than that, you know? So I
Mhm.
said, "What do you think?"
Yeah.
And she said, "No." And I just winked. And we never talked about it. And then she was fine. I did say, "Oh, but we don't tell other people about that."
We had the same conversation with our kids, and our oldest was so relieved. He's like,
Yeah.
okay, finally, because it's like I can stop playing the charade of like, okay, we're pretending.
Yeah,
Like he's doing it as a favor to us.
Yeah.
of course.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we had
Yeah.
the same thing. It's like it's not your place to
Yeah.
say that to other people.
Yeah. But
So-
most parents will say, like, no, it's real, or whatever, like not for another few years. And then the
Mhm.
kid finds out. Or, you know, like it's just there's so much gaslighting of instincts.
Mhm.
I don't think it's done to be like
No,
not on
it's not on
purpose,
purpose.
but
No.
it's just like when you think about what they've gone through, and
Yeah,
you
they've
know,
been
like
psyoped.
yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of sad. It's just like
Like that whole idea of Santa and that kind of thing. It's not coming from a bad place. Parents
Not at
aren't
all.
trying to do something bad. They think they're doing something good.
Yeah.
But I mean,
And it's
really,
fun too for the kids. But the thing is, once the kids start to figure it out, if you back them up and let them figure it out, now what you've done is you've created a detective.
yes,
Like that kid figured it out, you know, and
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
cool game. Like it was rewarding.
right.
yes.
And I
Right.
think that's why she's that, like, you know, even with COVID and everything, she's so, yeah, the first day she went on the what is it, the health site, the Canadian health site, and she looked up the diabetes stuff. And they were so unconcerned with diabetes patients and how it worked that she immediately figured out it's bullshit. Because they're way more worried about this corona thing than diabetes, which is way more affected in a way because insulin and all that, you know.
Sure.
And
Mhm.
she figured it out, and she hasn't worried about it one day.
And how many people have diabetes compared to how many people are sick with
Exactly.
COVID?
COVID, right? And where'd the flu go? She figured all that out too. She
Yeah,
was like,
right.
"What happened to the flu?" But it's because she wasn't trained to trust authority. You know, we just didn't do that. It's just think for yourself. Always think for yourself. You know.
Yeah, we
And my
teach our
son's the
kids.
same way, and I think that's a huge problem with society. People just are not encouraged to think.
We tell our kids, ask questions, like question everything. If something doesn't make sense, ask about it.
Yeah.
And like, you know, we said before, like we try to teach our kids to be respectful. Like, don't be a jerk about it.
Yes. Same.
You know, but spark that conversation, because our 6-year-old is so inquisitive and he just wants to know and why.
dope.
And it's like, okay. And if I don't know, it's like, okay, well, let's see if we can find out. Let's
I
figure
love
it out
that.
together.
Mhm.
Because, okay, well, if he thought of something and I don't know, well, it's not really fair to say you go find out. Like, let's find out
Let's
together. And
figure it
it's
out
fun
together.
and
Yeah,
cool.
we're the same
Yeah.
way. And
Yeah.
also, no harm in saying I don't know.
Oh,
I
I
said
say
I don't know.
always
I
feel
say I don't know
super
all the
cocky
time.
or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And then and exactly like Monique said, if we don't know, hey, let's look it up. Let's figure it out together.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's get
This-
the answer. You know.
I'm
I-
sure you've seen it in your kid's face. There's nothing your kid likes more than when your dad says, "I don't know," because what's happening is they realize it on some subconscious level that they're not being lied to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they know that. And I'm telling you, my kid's 20 now, 19. I haven't had any major problems with her, like when it comes to, you know, like high school drama. We've had problems just, you know, she's a teenager, she's got diabetes. You know, our family has mental, like there's little things like that we've had issues with, but those are just like normal things that any family might have to deal with, right?
Right.
But there's been no rebellion or anything like that. And the reason for that is because when she was a kid, I remember saying to her, I said, you know, the problem with you is your parents are pretty young, And when you're older and you're going to want to dye your hair green to be rebellious, we're just going to laugh and say, okay, go ahead. You know? And that's what happened. So she has no reason to rebel because she knows whatever choices she makes, we support within reason.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And she knows that. And she knows that at the end of the day, both my son, he said it the other day, he goes, nothing is worse. He says, Dad never yells at us. Dad never gets upset at us, but nothing is worse than when Dad says, I'm disappointed.
The
It's
worst.
worse than anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're carried around for days thinking about Dad's disappointed. My son still gets emotional when he thinks about like 5 years ago when I said I was disappointed.
Isn't it worse when it's like, I'm not mad, I'm just so disappointed. It's like, that's
exactly
so,
what he
no,
said I
yell
said.
at me, don't be disappointed. It's yeah.
But what we're doing is we're allowing them to self-police, right? That
Yeah.
we're saying like, you're responsible for yourself. Like, I can't make you the way I want. You have to be the way you want, you know?
Yeah.
And it worked. Like my son had a little bit trouble here and there as a kid, nothing crazy, but it worked. Like just being like, oh, this feels way worse than like getting what I want. Disappointing my dad is way worse, you know?
Yeah.
And so they're just good kids. Like they help other people. They stand up against bullies, you know? And I'm sure your kids will be the same way. And it's because you're allowing them to think, you know?
Yeah, I was like that as a kid. I was,
Mhm.
and it was like, I stood up, like once I finally started, like as a kid standing up for myself, because I used to get bullied.
Yeah.
And like one day I just had it in high school and I snapped. And then like, you know, I started like working out and got to punk rock and getting in the pit and, you know, I can take a punch and I got pretty tough. And then I would just like stand up to people and I'd stand up for others because I was like, fuck no,
Mhm.
like you're not better than anybody.
That's all it is. And it's just
Yeah.
mental.
Because I didn't care. It's like, what are you going to do? Beat the shit out of me? So I'm
Yeah,
going to
you know,
get back
if you're not
up.
scared of that, they can't do nothing.
Yeah.
My daughter's the same way. She'll like step in the middle of arguments and like defend people. And her mother, who's a Kiwi and half Maori, you know what Maori is?
I've heard of it.
It's the New Zealand Aboriginals.
Yes, thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
Yeah, so she's half Maori and half white. And so my daughter is like 3/4 of each thing. But my ex is like same thing. Like she's known for when she was younger, she'd be like, you know, driving down the street and see some like, you know, guy bullying some kid. She'd pull the car over. Go, this guy's twice her size, and she's yelling at him, you know. And so I'm so glad my daughter got that too.
Oh God, I'm the same way. I remember I was like, I think I was 20, 21. And I was at a bank and I have like my plaid skirt and my fishnets and, you know, tank top and everything, my tattoos. And we're at the bank and this guy is yelling at the teller. And the girl's like, just the tears coming up. And I just went off on him. I was in a bank full of people. I didn't give a shit. It was like we were the only two people in the room. I let loose on the guy and everyone was in shock. But I was like, what? Like, why didn't anyone else say like, hey, you're an
It's
asshole?
always like that.
You know, like so many, it just takes one person to stand up and do something because they all started clapping after. But
Yep.
it's like it takes one person to stand up and do something. And that's how I was like, even back in high school, like once I got the feeling like I can stand up for myself.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to stand up for others when, you know, it's like two people, like even my friends, like one class got into a fight. I was the only one, like nobody's going to do anything. The only reason I broke it up though was because my teacher, who I loved, was crying and she's like, please stop. And I was like, how rude, you know? Like,
Yeah.
how dare you upset her? Because she was actually like a really good teacher who cared. And yeah, then I was like, fuck this. And I just ripped him apart. But I just like, you gotta step up and have that inside of you. And so when I hear like other people doing that, it's like, yeah,
I'm the same
that's
way.
right.
I'm the same
Yeah.
way. Yeah, because I hate bullies. You know, I went through it too a little bit in high school. Not too much, but I had a couple moments where like a couple years with somebody, you know, bully me or something. But those are like character building moments, you know, when you stand up to
Sure.
that person and then you realize, oh, these guys are so scared. They're not even really like they're
Oh,
just used to
yeah.
not having any resistance, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had the same thing happen to me when I was a freshman in high school. I got bullied because I've always been, well, I'm short. I'm 5'6". I'm not a big
Yeah, I'm about the
tall
same.
guy.
Yeah.
And in school, I was always the smallest, and I was getting bullied around during a basketball game during phys ed class. And the kid just kept pushing me down, like hitting me, you know, fouling me, just being a dick, being a bully.
Yeah, boy shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was going on for a couple of weeks. And then this one day I just had it and I lost it on the guy, and I beat the shit out of him. And I, like, the way our gym was set up, you'd go out, you know, through you'd leave the gymnasium, you'd go up a set of stairs to get to the locker room. We fought up the stairs, and I shoved him down the stairs.
Yeah.
And after that, he went and grabbed a wiffle ball bat to come and get at me, and everybody was just laughing at him. And I just said, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do now?" And after that, never got bullied. Went through high school completely fine.
That's exactly how it
Was
goes.
friends with everybody. Everybody respected me. I didn't mess with anybody. Nobody messed with me. That's it. Yeah, you just got to stand up for yourself and just tell
You
them, go
nailed
fuck
it.
yourself. That's, you know, fuck you.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Is it the
remember
one you
seeing
did the
my
Macho
son-
Man elbow drop?
Yes, I did Macho Man elbow drop him from the.
That's dope.
I
You're
did,
my
I did
hero.
do that.
I remember telling
yeah.
my son when he went to school, because you know you're worried about bullies, like anybody is, like, you know.
Sure.
And I remember getting in their head that, you know, we don't fight with people. We're not, like, you know, be a good kid, have manners.
Right.
But if anybody ever threatens you, punch that motherfucker in the face.
Absolutely.
I remember saying
Mhm.
that. I'm like, anything happens, like if he's coming at you, like, just know your dad's gonna have your back. Because I know how bullying is. If you don't punch this guy back or whatever, and it never happened, never got to that. But thank God, like, my son's not afraid, you know, and that's what it is. You're just afraid, and that's how they get you. But if you just, like, if they come at you and you just talk back, they're not gonna do anything.
Mhm.
No, of
Yeah.
course not.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
that's like when I was in high school, the thing that made me snap was this one kid, like these football players, my boyfriend at the time and I and a group of friends were skateboarding on like a Saturday night, and they showed up and we got into a fight, and they kicked. I was trying to like break it up, like, guys, you know, because I always want peace. I always just want to, like, hey,
I'm the same.
stop. But the moment, like, you know, violence, like, like I get hurt, somebody intentionally is trying to hurt me, it's done. But as a skate, like, I was still tough, but I was just like, I needed that moment. And the kid kicked a skateboard on my ankle, and it got me right on the bone, and it hurt so bad, and my ankle got all swollen. And then the Monday in school, he came up like shit talking us. And I'm just like, we didn't say anything. Why are you like saying this stuff? What's your problem? And he's like trying to be all tough, just
Yeah.
mouthing off. So then, like, I'm going to class and I walk by him and I just snapped and I grabbed him and I picked him up off his feet and slammed him against the locker.
Oh my God, are we twins? I'll
Did
tell you a
do
story in
that
a
too?
minute.
Oh my God. But I lost it. And I'm like, I don't know what your problem is, but I don't want to talk to you. And I have him like up and he's just like, like he didn't know what to do. And he kept trying to like push me, and he'd get down and I grab him and pick him back up. And so finally, like, he pushed me back and he ran into a classroom. And this one girl at class is like, what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm not going out there. I'm like, come out here. I want to talk to you. He's like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm like, why not? I just want to talk. And the girl's like, because I don't want to say names, but
Yeah.
the girl's like, oh my God, just go out there and talk to her. What is she going to do to you? He's like, mm-mm. Go, yeah, what am I going to do to you? You know, like, I just want to talk. And then like after that, like guys, like I'd be walking by fucking Dyke and I'd be like, what did you say?
Wow.
You heard me. I'm like, no, why don't you come closer and tell me?
Yeah. It's
And
just nonsense.
yeah, it's just like, and I go around calling people cunts. It's like, you think I'm offended by that? I don't care.
Yeah. Words.
Tell me your locker story.
Yes.
Oh,
please.
I laughed when you said that because I wasn't the biggest scrapper in high school or anything. My friends were, all of them. They get in fights at like clubs and parking lots, and I just would avoid just going out with them because I knew every weekend was a fight. But I was kind of like more a creative artist kid who just happened to have all these like street friends, you know. But I remember we were in geography class, I think it was, and I'm sitting with all my homies, and we're like, you know, I think we're watching some movie or something, and this nerdy dude that we all just kind of knew as this nerd guy who just like would just make a lot of jokes, kind of jestery, but you know, nobody took him too seriously. And he's sitting in this table next to us. I guess we're having group projects or something, and his table is all girls. And for some reason, he's gotten in his head that he's going to start making fun of me. And he starts making fun of me because I'm kind of like quiet and stuff, you know. And he starts like, they're saying something, and all the girls are giggling. And I'm a teenager. Like now I would not even, I'd just walk out or whatever, right? But
Sure.
as a teenager, I'm just like, oh my God, all the girls are laughing. I'm going red. I'm just like, you know, like that's all you're thinking about. Like, what do the girls think of you? You know what I mean? And they're all laughing, but I don't even know if it was innocent. Now thinking back, it didn't even seem like they were really laughing at me. It's like he was just getting them to laugh, but it involved me.
Yeah.
And it keeps happening. And I'm just like sitting there and I can't do anything in class. And then, but I'm boiling. And then when the class is over, I just walk out and he's by his locker and I turn him around, he looks at me and I pick him up and slam him against the locker, just like you did.
Yes.
And I don't do stuff like
Yeah.
that, you know? Like, and I have him up against the wall and there's a demon loose now. Like I know, one thing I remember is like, I'm not in control. Like I've let go. I know there's something that it's DNA. I don't know what it is. It's maybe my dad was an athlete. I don't know what it is, but there's something that's taking over it. And I have him up against the thing and I'm talking, words are coming out of my mouth. And I'm saying stuff like, don't ever fuck with me again. You know, like I'm listening to hip hop at the time too. So I'm like pure hip hop kid, you know, like, and I'm just like, don't you ever fuck with me again. You don't know who I know. What the fuck were you saying? And he's like, bro, I wasn't saying anything. I was just, he totally started backpedaling, right? And I'm just going on. And as I'm holding him, I'm starting to feel bad for him because he's scared. And I'm just like, and I remember my buddy was behind me. I don't know how he figured it out, but he just somehow showed up. I don't know anybody was around. I thought it was just me and this guy. My buddy's standing behind me. So every time I'm like, bro, you don't know me. I know people. Because I did know people. My dad used to have a pizza store and he had a bunch of young guys that used to deliver pizza for him. And they were all like a couple of years older than me, but they would fight for me if I needed them to. You know,
Sure.
they just loved me. And so, and people knew that the neighboring high schools, eyes knows a bunch of people. That kind of kept me safe, you know? And so I remember saying, I know people, bro, you don't know. And the guy behind me goes, he knows people. I'm like, yo, you don't mess with me. You don't know who you're messing with. He goes, you don't know who you're messing with.
Oh my gosh, that's way
awesome.
cooler than my
Hype man
story.
That's
behind me.
great.
I had no idea. He just figured it out.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I remember thinking that, like, just this idea, like, put this guy up again. And I wasn't scared. It was the same feeling as you, where I'm just like, okay, let's go. You wanted to go here, you know?
Like I was like so in control, but I felt like it was a defining moment for me because at that point I stopped taking shit.
Yeah.
Until I got into abusive relationships, you know.
That's a
But
different story, though.
that's a whole other chapter. But yeah, it was like, you know, you stop taking shit. And that's when I started like standing up for myself, but really standing up for others.
Same.
And I used to like, I got a reputation and I remember like, I used to get upset because I want to be good to everyone. I'm a nice person. I want people to get along,
I'm the same.
but don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
And a certain friend of mine started like, people knew I would just like fight at the drop of the hat. I'd be like, you know, the dog, like being
Yeah.
held back on the leash, like, come on, give me a reason. Let's go.
You remind me of one of my cousins. She's very similar to you.
But at the same time, it had to be right. You know what I mean? It just like it, I guess
Right
it had to
shit.
have like it had to be right. Like I'm not just gonna beat someone up for nothing.
No, I totally get it.
And I guess she didn't like some girl. They were not getting along. And then she just started going around, yeah, well, Monique's one of my best friends and I'll have her kick the shit out of you.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh no, like I don't know this person. And
You don't
like,
want to hurt this person.
I don't know this person. I don't have a problem with them. And what's going on? Oh, well, you know, she likes the dude I like. And I'm like, seriously, over a dude? No. If she hit you, if she slapped you, you know, if she
there's some
hurt
kind of
you,
injustice, you know?
yes. But no, not because like you guys like the
No.
same guy. That's stupid.
I'm the same way. I only go off when it's, even on Twitter, like I'll only go off when somebody's a bully. To someone else usually, then I'll jump in. Or if I feel like somebody's being like, you know, I can't stand when somebody jumps into a Twitter conversation and they take the wrong tone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know you. Why are you coming with these like insults right off the bat? Because I'm way better at words than you are, and I'm just gonna destroy you now. Like, so I don't.
I suck at words, so it's
you?
like,
Yeah.
oh god, I'm so bad.
I'm a writer, so like the words thing is like, don't get started. You know what I mean?
Right.
But my point is, why would you jump into any conversation and come out like with this confrontational attitude when you don't know who you're going up against?
Why not ask?
Why not
If,
ask?
if you
Yeah.
think that's the
And-
tone, just say, hey, wait, can you
and most
just
people
explain?
do. And most
Yeah.
people are very good about it, but every now and then I'm sure you guys get it too. Some guy jumps in and he's like, well, actually, no, it's like this. And you don't know nothing. And then you're just like, okay, dude, you walked into the wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm the first to admit I know nothing.
Yeah,
I
I'm the same
admit
way.
it. Like that's fine.
I'm the
but
same way.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even if the guy's right, but if his attitude is wrong, that can set me off. I will destroy a person on Twitter just because I feel like they
You
took
should
the wrong
just, like,
tone.
I think you
What?
need a hug.
Me?
Something you no say that to people. Like I just like if they're being like,
Oh
that,
yeah, I have done
think
that.
you
You
need a
just need a
hug.
hug, just meet him with love, all that. Yeah. But my point is, like, I'm not aggressive or anything. I only get aggressive when I feel other people are being bullied. I feel like you're similar. Like you guys, you know, I don't like other people being bullied. I don't like being disrespected. It's simple as that, you know.
There you go.
Everything else,
Yeah.
I can be like, even if you disagree with me, it's not a big deal. I don't care. I could be completely wrong.
But it makes it fun. Like if everyone
Exactly.
agreed with you, wouldn't it be boring?
It'd be so boring. How would I even ever test my theories? How would I like that, you know, even the other guys like Murph and Human Vibration, like we kind of push each other a little bit and be like, does this make sense? Does that make sense? And then we of course correct. Imagine if we all just agreed.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like for me, like a lot of times when I'm liking stuff on Twitter, it's not necessarily because I always agree, but I like the fact that it's just getting put out there.
I like
to
the
think
idea
about.
I
of
always say
things
that it's not
too,
an
yeah.
endorsement.
Mhm.
Like it's not the like isn't an endorsement. Sometimes the like is just I like you. I don't even like this tweet, but I like the vibe you're putting
Sure.
out or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, and that's the thing. Like one thing definitely on Twitter, I'm very like when I have like friends and people I care about, I'm so like, I just want to support them. I'm
Me
going to
too.
have
I'm
their
the same
back
way. It's-
100%. And I'm going to
and
like
you worry?
things.
Are you like me where you worry like you're coming off like you might be like sucking up or something? Like, because I'm not. I'm really just a fan. Like I want you guys to win, you know, whoever it is.
So I get in these weird things. So it's like I'll become friends with somebody and then I feel weird. Like, do they think I'm some weird stalker fan?
That's
because
what I mean.
like here I am. It's just how I am though. I'm just like, I want to give and I want to help and I want to be there to support you because I'm so like,
Same way.
if you're in my circle, I have your back.
Right.
That's how
Yeah.
I would say. If you got me, I got you.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Like we never ask for anything. So if we ask somebody for something, like it's a lot, like
I
that should
know.
tell you right there, like shit, like they obviously need help.
Yeah, and they obviously trust you to some degree to even ask you. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for us, it's like we've realized throughout our lives, like the people that we've gone to hell for and back, the people we've stood up for, the people like we've helped, the moment we say like, hey, can I talk to you? Can I talk to you about something? Can you help me with this? Well, I can't. Why don't you go ask so-and-so? Or,
You just
I
again
can't.
gave me goosebumps.
Yeah. And
Like,
it's
I'm feeling it because I know exactly what you're talking about.
and it's painful. It's like,
It's
what the
often your
fuck?
best, your closest people. You know.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's, your circle starts getting smaller and smaller. And for me personally, I don't know if anyone else has this issue, but I feel really awkward because like, it's like, I am just who I am and I'm so happy and I want to be motivational and positive
Me too. Yeah,
and
I
just
get that.
tell everyone just how awesome they are because we don't do that enough. And then I start to think like, wait a minute, okay, if they're part of like not my world, but the real world, they probably think I'm weird. Like, what is this girl's deal? Like, why does she keep messaging me,
Yeah,
telling me I'm awesome?
I think like, you know, normies definitely would be bothered by that. I think because they just don't know how to process that. But I've noticed that our little group that we have right now going, that everybody's super supportive, and you can like 20 tweets in a row, nobody gets the wrong idea. You know what I mean? It's like,
Mhm.
and I love that because I'm the same as you. Like, oh, any musicians on my feed that like young kids that are starting, even if I don't love their music, but I like them and I know they have potential, I retweet.
It's the support.
I'm so big on community support.
Yes.
But the problem is then when I feel like you said, when you reach out and you ask for something, I'm the kind of person that won't ask for anything though, just because I've learned my lesson. But when you ask and then it's not reciprocated in the same way, I've gotten to a point now where I've reminded myself, and this is why it works. I'm sure maybe you do the same thing. If I'm going to help somebody and I'm going to tweet somebody, I want nothing in return. So I don't get confused in my head and think that when they don't do it for me, I get upset. You know, no, I always know nobody's going to do it for me. That's
absolutely.
Yeah. And that
that's
was a big unlock for me to realize that as long as I can do it in a way, like if I can be a fan and retweet, and even if they think I'm a weirdo, I just don't care because I'm helping, and you know, you're the weirdo for not getting it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've just stopped giving a fuck about that stuff and just started being myself. And especially after last year, like seeing all those, we went down some really dark rabbit holes last year, and coming out of that made me really realize that, like, even if those things were fake or whatever, it calibrated my soul. Like, I realized I'm none of this shit. Like, I don't resonate with any of this dark shit that people, I just care about family. I want to help good people. I want to, and that became so clear last year. I don't know if I'm being manipulated to be like that, if that was the point of the whole psyop, but I definitely feel it.
I think it's just how we are as people. It's just how we are. And it's like, I'm just going to be who I am. Like, so like, you're like, I asked for nothing in return. But if you were like, hey, I'm going to be in New Hampshire. Is there can you tell me the best place to stay? I'd be like, no, you stay with us.
Stay with us.
I'll cook for you.
That's
you know
the
what
best
I
place
mean?
to stay. Right.
Yeah, it's like, I'll cook, like, tell me what you like.
That's so dope.
But that's just like, it's how we are. And the one thing I wish that we could be like is just strangers, like, because Alex told a story about is it your uncle, your grandfather?
Yeah, my grandfather in Greece. What would happen is they lived in a very small village in Greece, and anytime a stranger or a traveler would be passing through the village and needed a place to stay, everybody everybody would congregate at the coffee house. And my grandfather was always at the coffee house, and if he wasn't there, and the traveler would pass through, everybody would send them to my grandfather's house. Wow. And that was the thing. Everybody knew, oh, we go to Nico's house. That's where people would go to stay. And that when I would hear those stories, that always was like, wow, that's the coolest thing. I always thought that was the greatest thing. So I've always been like that with any friends or anybody, that ever needed a place to crash or whatever. It was always, stay with me. Just stay with me. Because that as a small child, just hearing those stories, and I don't know if it was just the stories or just if it's in my DNA or whatever, but it always resonated with me. And it was always like, yeah, I want to be like that. I want to be just like that and be just as hospitable, just as friendly. And yeah, I mean, it's just.
No, I relate to that. I know what you're saying. It's
that's like what do we want to do? Just, I wish the fear would go away, where that would happen more with people.
I mean, really, if there wasn't politics and religion, we'd all be fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's really true. And now they've made it worse. Now, the strangers are more, we don't even know who who we're going to see eye to eye with, who's not going to shame you or whatever,
Right.
But I relate to what you said about hospitality and so forth, because like my grandfather was very similar. In Pakistan, where he lived, like the house that they all lived in was like the social hub. Like he'd always have people over, always be feeding them. People would even come over just to eat. And so I relate to that. I'm not like that. Like, I'm very social and very friendly, and I like when people around, and I'm usually kind of like the person that is like the host in a way, but I get tired really easily. And I think it's an introverted thing. I just get the energy gets sucked out of me so quickly from it.
I think you need to check your human design.
Say that again?
You need to check your human design.
Okay.
Explain.
So Karen Rontowski, so she did an episode about human design, and she had, Michelle Johnston. And she basically explained what human design is. So it's basically the way we're designed based off of when we were born. And it explains so much, because there's different types of people, and then it gets broken down into another type, and then it gets broken down even more. Okay. And it goes by like channels and gates inside your body. So it's kind of like there's like 5 different types of people, and then it gets broken down where I think it's like, what is it, like 2, 4, 6, so like 12 different types of people, or but it's
there's
like
all kinds of different
and then it just
levels
breaks
and
down
types
like
of
more and more
people,
individual. But like with the main type, like the bigger type, there's generators who are just like constantly going, full of energy. So Alex is a generator. There's manifestors, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors. And so I'm a projector. And one of the things about projectors is they can only do work for like maybe 4 or 5 hours, and then they're done. Yeah. And that's how I am. It's like, I flat, like, boom, and I'm productive and I get stuff done, but then it's like, I'm done. I don't want to do anything else. It's like, okay, I'm exhausted. And it just made a lot of sense. And everything she dissected based off my date of birth and the time, I was like, yes, that is me. And then it helped me understand like why things are. So like with my human design, I have gone through so much in my life, and I want to share it with people to help them learn through my experiences.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of good information to give to people, but if people aren't open to listening, it's going to fall on deaf ears.
Yeah.
And then I get frustrated. I get pissed about it, and I feel
That's
really
right.
bitter, because it's like, here you are going through something, and I'm telling you how you can help yourself, and you don't listen.
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, you're like, oh, so-and-so told me this. It's like, I told you that 3 months
Yeah,
ago.
I relate to that.
You don't listen to me. And so you get frustrated and you feel like hurt about it. You get bitter. Yeah. And it was like, don't give anything out unless it's invited, like unless somebody's open to it. So she's like, you have a podcast. Obviously, if they're listening, they're opening themselves up. They want to hear. But if you just, your mom's complaining about the dog, and you're like, well, I have almost 20 years of veterinary experience under my belt. But if they're not asking, they're not saying, I want you to tell me, then just shut up or don't get upset about it.
It's so similar with the COVID thing right now. Like, you don't, if they're not asking, don't say anything, because people aren't ready.
Yeah.
And it's what you just said reminded me of that. It's like, I'm the same way now with like when I'm around family, or, if they're not ready to hear it, I don't even bring it up. And it makes it a little harder to be around people.
Yeah.
Because you're listening to them talk about stuff that, is just nonsense that they're not aware of,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's also why I don't like socializing with like a lot of people. That's why I get drained, is because a lot of people that tend to be around are kind of normal people who don't see things the same way. So I'm playing pretend. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I
And
did
that's
that
what's
as an
draining. I think if I
empath.
was around you guys, or was around the Everything Fake crew, and we were all hanging out, like if we do that thing that we talked about, then I'm sure I won't be drained at all.
like right now, like us, this conversation, we're over 2 hours in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I'm just like, when you get in that great conversation with people, it's like you feel like you could go on forever, because
that's exactly it.
You're feeding each other's energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I'm talking to you two, and I'm thinking, well, this is probably going to happen again. Like we're probably going to do this a few times. I can tell I get along with you guys. And
we can just like FaceTime and talk. It doesn't even have to be for the podcast.
Yeah, we just be family now, just friends. So
But
I'm the same way.
Like check out, we did an episode with Michelle, but definitely for all of our watchers and hearers, just check it out. Human Design, Michelle Johnston. She is amazing.
She was right on with everything with Monique, and then with me, and I was just
Michelle Johnson.
Yes, Michelle Johnston.
Yeah.
And she's from Canada.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's
Fellow
your
Canadian?
Actually, it just reminds me, I heard an episode previously, and you guys were talking about maybe changing the name.
Yeah, we were thinking about it, but I
don't think you should.
We've had it now for so long, so just
it's so like it fits so perfectly, because
it does.
Because you guys are not Homewreckers. That's what's so cool about it. Like, it's Homewrecker podcast, and even the font tells you pretty much that it's not what you think it is. And then you click on it, and it's these two really cool people. And I think there's some irony to that. I like it a lot.
Well, like thank you so much. My whole thing was like, I wanted that like 50s aesthetic, and like that 50s, 60s kind of vibe. And like, I'm actually really like, I've always been very independent, and like I used to think I was a feminist, but now looking at what feminism is, I'm like, hell no.
I used to think I was a liberal.
Yeah. Well, I used to think I was liberal, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just want to show like I can do for the most part what guys can do, and there's a difference between things.
Yes,
we can't do everything the same, but just give me a chance to try.
I agree.
That's how I was. But I'm also very much like, I want to be home cooking, making babies, taking care of the kids,
maternal instincts,
serving my man, like cooking for him and rubbing his feet, getting him his slippers.
I actually have this theory where I think that a lot of our generation was psyoped into thinking that, the traditional home family life, like it's like, I don't know, quaint or something, or that it's not, like this is modern way to live. But I find that a lot of the people that I've run, especially girls that I've run into in my life who were like, like maybe they were bi in college, so that I find that all of them, as they get older, most of the ones that I've met end up going, I just want like a dependable man. And because they realize as they get older, there's this primal thing that they just can't, maybe the media lied to them, that they could get it elsewhere,
Mhm.
that's always been super interesting because you sound like a progressive person who was into punk rock, probably thought like, I don't need a man, I'm feminist, this and that. But at some point, but you have these things that are like, I'm the same way. I never thought I would be married and all this, but there are these primal things that are so rewarding, and I think it's because that's always been done and we're coded like that. I don't at all think that like, that the traditional straight couple is the only couple. I'm not like, I think everybody should be allowed to be happy and whatever.
Yeah. Oh,
Agreed.
There's
absolutely.
something to a
Mhm.
well-worn path in nature. Like there's these grooves that have existed for a long time, and I think our DNA just wants to go in that direction. Even though I consider myself progressive, and I would like in the future have a wife or a girlfriend that is, like really accomplished and progressive and stuff. But I know now from life experience that what I need is somebody who's more of a homemaker, who's more of like maybe even a little submissive. I don't mean like in any kind of like, overt way, but in a way where maybe I make the decisions and so forth. But I was never like that in my previous relationships. It was always equal. Like our partner, even my ex, everything has always been equal. But now as I'm getting older, I'm realizing there's something going on in the male psyche. I'm sure women have it too, where we need a little bit of that, like dominance, or it's not dominance. It's like to lead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let me share
Yeah.
something with you,
Yeah.
because it's kind of based off what you're talking of. So
Yeah.
one of the things, I always stood up for myself, and I get into fights. I could handle myself. So the boyfriends I had, if I was at a show and some dude like pushed me or, got my face, I was right there to stand up for myself,
Yeah.
but they weren't there to have my back.
Yeah.
And because their rationality was, well, you can take care of yourself. And I was just like, I don't care that I can take care of myself. It's the principle you should have my back, because if it was you, I'd have your back regardless. And with Alex, no matter what, he has my back, regardless of if I can take care of myself. It's
That's
not
the
about
point, yeah.
that. It's about having him have my back. And in I used to be like wicked flirty, just because it's just how I am, because I love people and I just,
Yeah, I'm like that too. Yeah.
yeah. But when Alex and I got together and he didn't like that, any other boyfriend, I was like, no, this is how I am. It's me. But with Alex, it was something, the kind of dominance, but also it was like you were like, I could tell like you didn't like me being flirty with other people. And it was just like, because I care about you so much, I was like,
And also he's
okay,
not
I'm gonna
fake.
stop.
He's not pushing it on you for some
It-
psychological like.
No, it wasn't even
inferiority.
like a conversation. It's just, you could feel it.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not like he
you-
said, I don't want you
different
flirting.
boundaries with different people,
Yeah. It was the energy that I felt. And most, like the other boyfriends, I'd be like, well, fuck you. I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah.
But with him,
But then they
this was
also
like,
didn't have your back. Right?
that's
like-
true.
Like I was thinking about that too. Like the relationships that I've been most like inspired to, I've been in a relationship with somebody who's been like, you don't do anything, you don't do the dishes, you don't do this. I'm doing all of it, but there's some kind of like lack, and it's being filled with whatever, right?
Yeah.
But what I realize is the reason I may not be doing it as much as the person wants is because I'm not motivated. I'm doing it because you want to do it. I'm not doing it because I'm thinking, oh, you're an awesome person, I really want to. And maybe you're also not leaving room for that.
Yeah.
Like, but what I realize is whenever there's a relationship where somebody appreciates me and they really like me and they know that I do a lot, I go out of my way and I do extra things.
Dude, I swear we're like the same person. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's
right,
me.
right. And
That
I
is
think
me.
a lot of men
Oh,
are
yeah.
wired like that, but they don't know it.
Yeah. Mhm.
They don't know
Yeah.
that, like, if they have the support of a woman, let's say, and let's be honest, it's the support of a loyal woman.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
The
Mhm.
support of like guys can accomplish anything if they have a support of a loyal woman.
Absolutely. Mhm.
And I'll have
And-
his back. Like when we talked about all the conspiracy stuff, even if I didn't agree with it, and I'm like, it's fine, I still supported him 100%. And I was like,
Yeah.
I have your back. Whatever you want to do, I have your back.
Yeah.
Because it's what you do for each other. He supports me. Like I take hours so I can, study, and like I'm putting all these hours to go to school, and he's supporting me. He's taking care of the kids so I can do
That's
that.
awesome.
He allows me. I don't want to sound like he allows me.
No, but I know what you mean. Like,
yeah, when I make my
you guys in a
organite.
relationship, you have to make room. You have to, like, it takes a lot of effort to make room for somebody else's needs, you know?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's a sacrifice.
Yes. When I make my organite or I read tarot, it's like I part of it's like I'm taking this time away from my husband and my family, but it's to be creative. It's to do something for myself. It's to do something for other people. But he's like, he supports me 100%. And that's how it is. We support each other. Anytime he's wanted to do something, 100%. Absolutely. That's just how we are.
I think you guys know that if both of you have time apart from yourselves and, like, you know, to refuel on whatever you need in life, you're gonna be better for each other. Like,
Absolutely.
if you weren't able to do those things and he didn't give you the time to do that, or vice versa,
Mhm.
you guys would be so cranky.
Yeah.
Right? It's so
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah,
It's so simple.
absolutely.
If you can't refuel, what are you bringing to the relationship?
Mhm.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's just like we support each other. And
I love it.
yeah. So it's just funny, the whole like homewrecker thing, but it's actually kind of like we did
No, but that's why it's so cool. Like,
Yeah,
here's
we
these two
actually-
wholesome people who've got a podcast called Homewrecker. And I don't know if otherwise it would stick in your head. Like, that's another thing, right? Like, I don't know if otherwise you'd remember the podcast. Like, there's something about, you know, like just having that cognitive dissonance of like the title and you guys, that makes you, it sticks in your head. You're like, oh, those guys, you know?
yeah. Those homewreckers.
Yeah.
But yeah. Awesome.
Well, you guys also just had everybody on that I listened to from other podcasts. And that's really how we found each other. Like, you guys had Murph on, and
Yep.
I think you had Human Vibration on,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
yeah, and Rambo, and like, you know, and that's like my group, my crew, you know.
The-
So
Right.
yeah.
listening to you guys, then you immediately after 3 episodes, I'm like, oh, these are my homies now. You know?
Well, it's just like, it's almost like you start feeling out. So, you know, we're following people and then you see what people like, they'll like something or retweet something. You're like, oh yeah, okay, these people seem like, okay. And you start
Yeah.
following them. But then once you start talking to them, like we asked Human Vibration to be on the show. And I was just like, okay, let's just ask her. The worst she could say is no. But no, and she was awesome. And then like we reached out to Rambo and
Yeah.
Murph and you, and it's always like at first it was kind of like because who are we? You know, that's how I
No,
look
I
at it.
know,
It's
I
like
get
we're
it,
no
yeah.
one, you know, but it's just the
But it goes to
information.
show you though that it's like, even from my perspective as a guest, it's like, it's not what the podcast is about or how many follow, because I never asked you guys how many follow. I don't care.
Yeah.
But what it's about is what's the energy of the podcast, right? And I'm telling you, there's so many podcasts out there. You turn them on, and the vibes are just wrong. They're just, you can't get into it. And with you guys, it was so unpretentious and so just kind of warm that you get sucked into it. And especially nowadays, where I feel like people are really starting to look for more content that's like soulful. Like, we're really sick of whatever's been going on the last few years. We didn't even notice, I don't think. I think we were all cool with it until last year. We went, wait a
Sure.
minute,
Mhm.
it's all bullshit we've been addicted to. You know?
Mhm.
I can't listen to any of my favorite podcasts anymore.
Mm.
I listen to them and they're just talking about nonsense, and I'm just like, the world's falling apart, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I know we're not for everybody, and that's okay because we look at it like we get to meet really great people doing what we do, and we make these great friendships. And
You guys are going to be huge. Just keep doing it. I'm telling you, like, there's so many people like us out there, other couples. There's people who are just so sick of everything, like, you know, mainstream media essentially.
yeah,
And to hear, like, I'm realizing hearing regular people have real conversations about things that are going on is so addictive and so calming. It's very calming. You realize, oh, there's all these people around just like you, because you feel like an alien, to be honest. Like, I'm sure you guys feel this too. You just feel like an alien. And then you meet Human Vibration, you meet Rambo, you meet these guys.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, there's others like me.
but
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like
exactly.
you get
Yeah.
it. And
Mhm.
you get me. And you know,
Yeah.
it's just that like when I do something, it's not like okay, stalker. It's like, wow, that was really thoughtful. And it's like, you do
Well, I'm
get
saying
me.
the wildest things on your podcast, and I haven't noticed you guys even once, Pat and I, or, you know,
Oh,
like,
no.
you guys are just listening, and I'm listening to you the same way. And I think
Yeah.
that's what I love. It's like the best shows just make you feel comfortable, and like you just can talk about whatever, and you're not going to get judged.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
Yes.
It's like it's very hard not to judge sometimes.
I know.
And I mean, I even fall into it where I start and I'm like, wait a minute, I got to stop.
Yeah.
Because I just look at it like, who are we? We all have flaws. You
Yeah.
know, we all have these little quirks about us that might rub
Mhm.
people the wrong way.
Sure.
I know just the way I talk. Sometimes going back and listening to myself, and I say like a lot, and there's certain things.
Never do
where-
that. Don't ever listen back to yourself.
But that's the thing, because I forget what we talk about, and I'm like, oh, what am I gonna put on the thing?
True, for the show notes, that's
I
always
was
a
like,
problem.
I
I
get
started
it.
a
What am I
podcast
gonna
for a
tweet
while, too, and I had
about?
the same problem.
But so I'm like, crap, I gotta listen. But yeah, it's just I you're laughing at me.
I say like a lot. I'm
Oh,
just
like,
sorry.
But you know what? Nobody notices until you say that.
Yeah.
Like
You-
I never
you're
noticed once that you
absolutely
said
right.
like a lot.
But in
And
my mind,
I know.
you know, and then you feel weird and you feel like I'm not good enough. And it's like
Yeah.
this self-abuse, and it's just ridiculous. And but then we have these conversations,
Yeah.
and we get to like, we just have these awesome conversations where it feels like we have been best friends for like 20 years.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we just
I was
haven't
thinking
seen
that
each
too.
other in a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. And then I don't care anymore.
Then
It's like,
worth it.
because
Yep.
it's about the people, it's the journey, the people that we're meeting, and the friendships that actually feel real.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In
Well,
this
these
world,
friendships feel more real than real friendships in some way.
yes,
Absolutely.
in this world of
Mhm.
everything fake, we are finding what's real.
Yeah. You just nailed that. I think because everything is so fake, the contrast of what's real is becoming very apparent. Like people like us, we recognize each other very quickly, which I don't think
Mhm.
was the case like 2 years ago. I don't know if I would have stumbled on your podcast and known that's my people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's so obvious now
Yeah. And
because of
oh, go on.
yeah, go on.
Oh, I was just saying, like reaching out to human vibration, taking that first step. And then it got easier and easier, like talking to people and commenting
Yeah.
and liking, and it gets easier. And then it's like a transition of feeling like an outsider,
Yeah.
you know, being on the outside to like, no, we're just here.
Yeah, you guys are part of the family. Like, you know, I'm new too. I mean, you guys have probably been a little longer than me, but it's like, and I've noticed that with the gang, it's like even though I was a little later, there's no you don't get any feeling like, oh, these guys have been around longer and they have seniority or something.
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
There's
Yeah.
none of that.
Yeah.
It's just love. And
Yep.
It is.
it's like
Yeah,
that
it's a
feeling.
love-based movement.
Yeah. It's that,
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
the energy. It's such
Yeah, none of
the-
us want any bad vibes around.
Oh no. And
Right.
it's like, it's the excitement inside, the happiness. Like I think it was human vibration I was trying to explain to. It's like, you know, when you see a hummingbird, how they flap their wings so fast, it's like you can
Yes.
barely see it. That's like how I feel inside. Like that.
I totally relate. I'm a male, so I can't say that, but but I know that there is this like giddy feeling, like especially like first discovering human vibration and Murph, like when they first talking on it was your podcast, it was Chris's podcast. When I heard them, I remember just like immediately feeling, oh, that's one of us, you know, that's like immediately, but also just like the energy was so good coming off. I think her name is Jay.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
goes by Jay, but her energy was so good because usually when I'm listening to podcasts and somebody's telling me their theory, I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe I'm listening, but like the person's a little cranky, they're trying really hard, you know, it's always like that. But her energy was so open, and it's exactly what we needed to hear at that point because we were all fed up with, you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and ever since then, I feel like I stumbled into this weird community, which maybe even she kind of like spearheaded a little bit,
Yeah.
you know. But
Remind me to tell you something after we record. I'm not going to say it out here.
okay,
'cause,
cool, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the energy's been so good. Murph, Rambo, all those
Yes.
guys, and I also feel like, and this could be me patting myself on the back a little bit, but I feel like since I've joined the community, everybody's like started to slowly loosen up even more. Like, cause I'm so crazy on my Twitter.
You're fun. But that's the thing. It's like, we're having fun and we're
Yeah,
joking.
that's my whole
and-
point, is to get everybody to chill
Yeah.
out a little bit and don't take it so seriously. And
Yeah.
that's also superpower. If you don't take it seriously, nobody can come to you and say, hey bro, like you're wrong. No, I'm not taking myself so seriously. I'm just kidding around, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
awesome. Oh my
No,
gosh.
it is.
Yeah.
I know. It's like, I have so much, I adore like everyone. It's
Me
just-
too.
It makes me feel so warm and
I can feel
fuzzy
the energy coming
inside.
off you right now.
I'm giddy.
Yeah. Yeah. You're awesome. It's you amaze me more and more every day. I'm not just saying that because we're on a podcast. I tell you this all the time anyway, but like I just sit here sometimes next to her when we're doing the podcast, and I'm just like, okay, wow. Like
I can
it's just
see it in you.
It's
I
like,
can see her sometimes going, and you're just sitting back and watching, and I'm
and,
like,
and
she's
I
just
am.
proud right now.
I'm just
And
like
he
amazed.
lets me go. Bless
I'm
him.
amazed,
He
and like
lets me go.
I feel her energy, and it's just like,
Yeah.
wow. Like
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate. That's all I'm gonna
It's
say.
cool for
As am
me to
I.
watch you guys and think, oh wow, there's these two parents out there who are putting out kids into the world that are probably going to be like good kids, you know, and thinking, and like you. That's why this podcast, I think, is going to do really well over time, especially as more and more people find, like, because you guys have a few guests that I think people are looking for right now. Like, people are searching human vibration in Rambo and Spotify apps. You know, I do
Yeah.
it. You know, so the fact, and I think that's gonna, if you keep doing that, it'll grow your podcast. And the thing, the superpower is that you give people hope that there's like couples out there and like normal people out there just like them who are raising their kids in like in a way that's like responsible, and they want, like, I can tell that you guys want to put up a better future, you know.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
normies don't seem to care. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't even know what they're hoping. I have no idea. And I think it's really good to have, like, that's what I loved about the podcast, because the family unit and all this, and it feels authentic. And you guys clearly are not doing it for the likes or the follows. You know, that'll
Yeah,
just come
okay.
on its own.
Yeah.
But also, like, I have your back. Anything you guys do, I'm going to be retweeting
Well,
it.
the
And
same with
everything.
you.
Like,
We love you.
Ditto.
like, you're one of my
Yeah.
favorites. So
But you also too, and talking about your kids and how you are, it's like you get it too. And it's, again, it's the same level in a sense,
I
you know,
think
the
we're all
same
doubling
vibration.
down on humanity.
Yeah.
You know, we're all kind of realizing that, like, we respect the family man, we respect the, you know, the homemaker, like these things that we didn't
Yeah.
really care about much maybe the last 10 years, but realizing, wow, these things are so important now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke, even though we don't drink soda, but
Whatever. Well, why don't we tell everybody where they can find you
Yes.
on social media?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Twitter/eyes, AYZ, super easy to find. And then I'm on Instagram at eyes was hair. But the thing is, I don't really use my Instagram that much, so I shouldn't even really plug it. The Twitter
Fair
is
enough.
where all the action is. All the action is
Awesome.
on Twitter. My music, everything you can find there, films.
You have,
And like
is
you
it
guys said, I'm
Linktree?
always active. What?
Is it Linktree so people can find your music and your movies?
There's a link tree in the thing, and then there's also just the Spotify playlist. I always have it pinned at the front, and they
Perfect.
can find it. And if they want to find Apple, it'll just be underneath it in a comment. But
Awesome.
But
We'll put that in
thanks
the
for
show
having me
notes
on,
and
guys. This
everything.
was so dope.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yeah.
you so
Thanks so
much
much
for
for
being
having it.
here.
Yeah. Thanks for being with us. Yeah.
Anytime,
That was
fly the
awesome.
bat signal. I'm back.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
All right, guys. Take care.
So that was an awesome conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Again, we really hope you enjoyed that as much as we enjoyed having it. That was so much fun.
Yeah. These conversations, it's what it is. It's conversations, and the connections that we're getting with people, like with all of our guests, are always so mind blowing. It's just, I'm very grateful that we've been able to meet and speak with the people that we have, because, you know, some podcasts want to get famous people, but we want to get people we connect with.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
if they happen to be famous people, whatever, but
Hey, that's
we
cool.
just,
That's, you know,
we want that
whatever.
connection, and that's what we definitely, that's what we've been getting, and you know, that's what we had for sure tonight, and it was just so awesome.
it was a great time.
Yeah, we hope
Great
you
time.
enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Now, where can people find us on social media?
On social media,
We've got
at
Twitter.
Homewrecker Pod.
On Twitter.
Yes, on Twitter,
Yes.
at Homewrecker Pod.
Sorry, I'm stepping all
It's
over
late.
each other. It's
It's
yeah.
way past our
That's okay.
bedtime.
And we're no longer on Instagram. We
Nope.
still have
Minds.
Minds.
But nobody's really on there. We're at Homewrecker Podcast.
Okay.
So if you have a Minds account, find us.
Yeah,
Let
check
us
us out on there.
know. Reach out.
And of course, everybody can always find us on our website.
Homewreckerpodcast.com.
That's right. And where can people find you and everything that you? Oh,
No, YouTube and Brighteon for our watchers. You want to watch YouTube and Brighteon.
drop the ball there.
And Odyssey. Yes, we're trying Odyssey out. So find us on Odyssey as well. And yes, if you want to find me, you can go to my website, taraByMonique.com, and find my Etsy shop, Wonders by Monique. And you can get a tarot reading, oracle reading. You can get orgonite, incense, smudging spray, beeswax candles, all kinds of fun things.
Good times.
Yes.
Good vibes.
And how can people find you?
I'm also on Twitter at the Alex Arion, and you can go to alexarionfitness.com and check that out as well.
So please do.
Yeah.
And if you're listening on iTunes or anywhere where you can subscribe, please do. And if you can please like. And iTunes or anywhere else that does it, give us 5 stars or whatever the highest star rating is.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
We really do. Please and thank you.
Yes. So we have a guest scheduled for our next episode, do we not?
I don't know. We have so many
there's a
coming
lot
up,
of
lined
there's a
up
lot of
along the
stuff coming
way.
up. So all right, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we shouldn't mention it then, because I'm asking you because I know we have something, but I don't know if it's going to be the next episode or the one
I don't
after.
think
So
it's the next one. I need to look at a calendar.
all right, so
It's late. It's
forget what I said. I
like
apologize.
12:30 a.m.
We're usually in bed by
Yes.
8:30 ish.
7:30.
Most nights. So anyhow, apologies. Yeah, we'll be back next week.
We will.
Regardless, we'll be back either with a guest, without a guest. Either way, we're gonna have fun,
Absolutely.
and hopefully you will too. So until next time, I am the Golden Greek Alex Arion, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing trophy wife, the lovely Monique.
And you've been listening to the Homewrecker podcast.